Chapter 3350. As soon as Luli boarded the battleship, he activated the runes in the cabin and went into closed-door cultivation. There were tea-houses and taverns in the cabin, but Luli was not interested. If he wanted to drink tea, he had Taoist Gui to give him the best tea and wine. He didn't have to go out. During this period of time, he had been refining his body, cultivating his soul, and cultivating his origin energy. Apart from these three things, he didn't know what else to do. Was he going to sit in the cabin and daydream? The battleship was fast. There was a blood-red flag with a machete in the middle. This was the symbol of the Eastern Spirituality House. The flag was prestigious. At least, many forces at the southern region wouldn't deliberately target the flag. Of course, this battleship wouldn't advance recklessly. Its flight path was carefully planned. It would deliberately detour around some areas occupied by peerless old devils. It would also detour far away from cities occupied by major powers to avoid conflict. Luli didn't care. If something went wrong, then everyone would die together. Also, there were three powerful warriors that were almost at the perfect realm. They still had a chance to run away. If anything happened, they could run away as soon as possible. What was more, Luli had the realm of Dharma. As long as he was not killed instantly, he could enter the realm of Dharma right away. Boom! 4 or 5 days later, a bolt of lightning suddenly came down. Luli was alarmed by the horrifying energy in heaven and earth. He checked with psychic power at once. He noticed that the battleship had turned around and the lightning didn't come down. Instead, it landed on the mountain next to them. The mountain was torn apart. Luli was relieved. But there were three powerful warriors that were almost at the perfect realm. They should be able to survive even if the lightning were to come down. The battleship moved on. Soon it was night. Luli was alarmed. Nighttime was what he was most afraid of. Once the battleship was in a state of nightmares, the situation would be dangerous. The warship did not slow down. A voice transmission rang out in the ears of all the martial artists. Everyone, please rest assured. We have a supreme expert who is extremely sensitive to nightmares. Once we enter the nightmares, we will immediately turn around. We will also warn everyone so you can cultivate and rest in peace. Luli was relieved. The Saint Emperor wouldn't lie. Otherwise, it would be a slap to the face of their powerful warrior. Therefore, there was no need to worry about sleepless nights. He just needed to rest and cultivate in peace. The next month was safe and quiet. Luli didn't even feel anything when he was cultivating. Soon, 1.5 months had passed. The speed of this warship was very fast, and it was probably comparable to a powerhouse who was infinitely close to the great perfection realm. At this moment, it had already traversed who knew how many tens of thousands of miles. It would be great if it could stay calm like this. Luli prayed to himself. He was not here to gain experience. He didn't want anything to happen to him. The Southern Territory was so much safer than the Eastern Territory. If something happened in the Southern Territory, would they be able to break through the Eastern Territory? The more one was afraid of something, the more likely it would happen. After another 13 days, the warship had just flown over a large mountain range when a terrifying aura suddenly came from below. A startling white light flashed and fiercely struck the warship. The sword energy was so horrifying that Luli and the others were frightened. They felt cold all over as if they were in an icehouse. All the martial artists felt a deadly sense of crisis, and it was extremely intense. A powerful warrior who is infinitely close to the great perfection realm. Luli's expressions changed. He was about to enter the realm of magic when a powerful warrior snorted. Then, a ray of yellow light came out from him. The light expanded and formed a shield that enveloped the warship. At the same time, the other two powerful warriors in the warship made their move. They flew down like a gust of wind. One of them snorted, "How dare you attack the warship of the Eastern Spirit Mansion?" Boom! The ray of sword light landed on the yellow shield. The shield was shattered, but the ray of sword light was shattered as well. It didn't cause any harm to the warship. That being said, all the warriors in the warship felt their blood tumbling. Some of the great Emperor Realm warriors were injured. Whoosh! Luli dashed out of the cabin. Many warriors came out as well. Luli checked with psychic power. Many warriors were frightened. They would not suffer in a fight between immortals. Boom, 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 Luli used psychic power to check. He saw 3 figures flashing around. They were so fast that he couldn't see them clearly with psychic power. That being said, the powerful warrior down there was really horrifying. He was fighting against 2 enemies at the same time. Whoosh! The warship flew away like a shooting star. The powerful warrior on the warship didn't take any actions. He had been protecting everyone on the warship. Fortunately, the powerful warrior didn't leave. Otherwise, the other warriors on the warship would have run away. The warship left quickly. An hour later, 2 people came back. They were the 2 powerful warriors from the Eastern Spirit Mansion. One of them had blood on him. Clearly, he was injured. Okay, it's okay now. Don't worry. The Heavenly Emperor's voice rang out once more, and the warriors on the warship felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. The little girl even patted her chest and said, 2 grandpas, the bad guys were beaten away. Grandpas are so powerful. The little baby's cry made the surrounding cultivators smile faintly. They felt like they had just survived a calamity. That powerful warrior was so strong. If that ray of sword light had landed on them, all of them would have been smashed into pieces. The warship moved on. The next 2 days were peaceful. The warriors were relieved. It seemed that the old demon would not catch up with them. It had been a long time. It would be hard for him to catch up. Whoosh! On the 3rd day there came a noise. Following that, 3 powerful warriors came. An angry voice shouted, "Bastards of the Eastern Spirit Mansion, where can you run to this time?" Swish, 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 many warriors on the warship were shocked. Luli rushed out at once and checked with psychic power. When he sensed that there were 3 powerful warriors, he knew he had to run. If he didn't, he might be killed. The 3 powerful warriors could just use one move and the warship would explode, and they would be smashed into pieces. Go and leave now. We will gather at the Purple Hill in half a month. If we don't show up in half a month, then we will call it a day. You can go to the nearby cities and find the branch of the Eastern Spirit Mansion, Heaven's Stone. A supreme expert's voice resounded in the ears of all the martial artists. The 3 supreme experts all moved out and rushed towards the back in a frenzy. The warriors on this side also started to run. Even the Saint Emperors of the Eastern Spirit Mansion ran away. The 3 powerful warriors chasing after them were horrifying. That old demon could already fight against 2. Now there were 2 more. Even the powerful warriors of the Eastern Spirit Mansion might not be a match for them. The 3 powerful warriors of the Eastern Spirit Mansion, who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection Realm, weren't particularly strong. If they were, why would they be here as guards? Therefore, something might go wrong this time. If the 3 powerful warriors were killed, they would all die if they didn't run. Unlucky! Luli sighed in frustration. How far had they gone? They were supposed to fly for 6 months. Now they had only flown for 2 months. They had only covered 1/3 of the distance. Luli finally saw the chaos in the immortal region. 3rd Sect Master. Chapter 33:51. Luli used stealth skill. Instead of flying up, he flew close to the ground. His energy was not strong to begin with. After he concealed it, he became even more inconspicuous. However, the 3 supreme experts who were chasing them didn't care about these small fries. The 6 supreme experts fought with each other. All the martial artists fled. They didn't escape in groups. Instead, they fled individually. Nobody trusted each other. Naturally, they wouldn't leave together. What if they were assassinated? Luli didn't fly at the top of his speed. He flew at a moderate speed. 2 hours later, he was relieved that no powerful warriors were coming after him. It seemed that the battle was not over yet. No powerful warriors would come after him for a while. Luli took a detour and flew toward the northeast. At least, it would be safer this way. After 16 hours of flying, it was night. Luli put his guard up, hoping that he wouldn't be caught in a nightmare. He slowed down again. At the same time, he used the trace of Great Path to sense the surroundings. There should be many ferocious beasts and even immortal beasts in the vicinity. He had run into such things along the way. For one thing, the battleship was fast and high. The battleship was also shielded from the warriors' energy. For another, there were powerful warriors that were almost at the consummate realm. Even if there were beasts or immortal beasts on the ground, they would be intimidated by the warriors. Roar! 2 hours later, Luli heard a roar coming from the front. The roar shook the mountains and rivers. Even Luli felt his heart was hammered. His face turned ghastly pale. Immortal beast. It must be a powerful one. One roar from such a long distance could make Luli's blood boil. If it were closer, wouldn't it slap Luli to death? He immediately wanted to go around it, but he didn't expect that after the giant beast roared once, it immediately stopped. The powerful energy was gone, as if it had just woken up and roared. Or was it suppressed by some other powerful beings? Luli sneaked around and breathed in relief after he flew for hundreds of thousands of miles. He was troubled. Flying high would make him a target. He could be targeted by the other warriors. He had to fly low. There were many beasts and immortal beasts in the wild. There was almost no way out of being targeted by the old demon. Luli had to fly close to the mountain. He had the mark of the Great Path, which gave him incredible senses. The more powerful the ferocious beasts and immortal beasts were, the more powerful their chi and blood were, and the easier it was for him to sense them. In one night, Luli flew for hundreds of millions of miles. He ran into some ferocious beasts, but it was a smooth journey. There were no nightmares. It would be safer when the sun rose. There are martial artists. Another few million miles later, Luli sensed some ripples in space up ahead. The ripples were coming from more than one place. Clearly, a battle was going on up ahead. Luli didn't want to get involved in the chaos. He quietly went around to the west. Unexpectedly, after he flew for tens of thousands of miles, 3 martial artists appeared on the battlefield. Luli used psychic power to check. A Saint Emperor was running away with a little girl. Another Saint Emperor was chasing after them. Is it them? Luli knew this little girl. She was on the same battleship as him. This little girl was too beautiful, as if she was carved out of crystal. Any martial artist who saw her would never forget her. The Saint Emperor with the little girl was injured. He was panic-stricken. While attacking, he ran for his life. Soon, he was close to Luli. Luli thought about it and dashed out. Then, he released a formation, which was noticed by the Saint Emperor who was chasing after him. That Saint Emperor was not strong, only at the middle stage of the Saint Emperor. Therefore, he fell for the formation easily. The Saint Emperor with the little girl looked at Luli. He stopped, cupped his fists and said, "Thank you for saving me." Luli waved his hand and said, "It's okay. Now go." Luli vanished on the spot and continued to sneak away. Soon, he vanished into the distance. The Saint Emperor didn't linger. He left with the little girl quickly. For the next couple of days, Luli didn't run into any danger. Occasionally, he would run into some ferocious beast. He sensed them in advance and ran away quickly. He had a map. Following it, he flew toward the Purple Peak. Even though he didn't think the powerful warriors of the Eastern Spirit House could win, he still wanted to go and have a look. What if the Eastern Spirit House won? Then, he could take the battleship of the Eastern Spirit House to the Cloud King City. Riding on a warship was much faster than him, and it was also much safer. It was also very comfortable. Swish, when Luli was flying over a mountain, a thunderbolt came down from the sky. Luli was scared out of his wits. But he reacted quickly and entered the realm of Dharma at once. Boom! As soon as Luli entered, the thunderbolt came down. By the time he came out, there was a huge pit with a radius of more than 2 miles where he was standing. Phew, phew, Luli exhaled. He still had some lingering fear. If he had reacted 1 second slower, he would have been dead. His soul would be destroyed. There would be no way for him to rebuild his body. He would disappear from the world forever. The immortal region is such a damned place. Luli curled his lips. This was an unexpected disaster. It was such a small chance that he fell for it. Luckily, he had the realm of Dharma. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to run away. He could have just stood there waiting for death. Let's go. Luli didn't dare to stay any longer. He flew away quickly. The rest of the journey was smooth. After 5 or 6 days, he found the Purple Peak. There were already warriors waiting here. They were all on the same battleship. There were hundreds of them. Brother! Luli flew to the Purple Peak. The little girl who was as pretty as a porcelain doll ran over. She bowed to Luli and said, "Thank you so much for helping me fight off the bad guys and save Zishi. Zishi will treat you to a big meal later." Luli smiled. He patted the little girl's head and said, "Zishi, you are welcome. Go back now. Don't let your family worry." "Okay, thank you." The little girl smiled sweetly and ran back happily. Luli found a corner and sat with his legs crossed, waiting quietly. There were still a few days before the deadline of half a month. He wondered if the powerful warriors of the Eastern Spirit House could come. A few days passed by in the blink of an eye, but the 3 supreme experts had yet to return. There was a Saint Emperor from the Eastern Spirit Manor here, and the jade talisman in his hand suddenly lit up. He scanned it with his divine sense, and a bitter expression appeared on his face. "Guys," the Saint King said sorrowfully, "I'm afraid our 3 ancestors won't be able to make it. I've just received news that 2 of our ancestors have died, so I'm very sorry that we won't be able to escort everyone. You can go to the nearby cities to get your celestial stones with the tokens that were given to you. I am leaving now. See you again." With that said, the Saint King flew away. Luli sighed. The worst-case scenario had happened. He had to go to the Cloud King City on his own. This trip would take 1 more year and the danger would be multiplied. Third Master. Chapter 33-52. Luli had covered a third of the way. He would have to spend more than 100 billion celestial stones. He couldn't get back tens of billions even if he wanted to. Luli didn't even bother to. The Eastern Spirit House had suffered a great loss this time. They would have to deduct some celestial stones as well. Halfway there, it was pointless to go to other chambers of commerce now. There were no other big chambers of commerce nearby. Luli had to rely on himself. Warriors on the Purple Peak cursed and flew away. They still didn't dare to go together. Trust was low in the immortal region. It was too chaotic here. Nobody trusted each other. It was better to go on their own. Luli was about to fly away when the little girl came over with a Saint King. The little girl had a pair of sapphire blue eyes. Her hair was purplish yellow. Her nose and ears were pointed as well. She looked like an elf. All that was missing was a pair of wings. Luli was naturally not on guard against this little girl. She was talented and had reached the Emperor realm at such a young age. But she was only a few years old and had a pure mind. She wouldn't hurt anyone. Those gem-like eyes were filled with innocence. How could they harm others? Luli looked at the little girl and asked with a smile, "Little Zishi, why are you still here?" "Big brother." Zishi smiled sweetly. There was a trace of desire in her eyes. "I lost some of my guards. I only have 1 left. I am scared. Can you take me with you?" Luli was surprised. This little girl made such a request? It was a bit abrupt and strange. Why did the little girl trust him so much? Also, she could ask. After all, Luli would be a burden if he took them with him. Luli couldn't even take care of himself. How could he help them? If the little girl was alone, it would be understandable. After all, Luli had saved her once. But it was strange that the little girl had a Saint King as her guard. Luli touched his nose and said, "Little Zishi, I am not capable enough. I can't take care of you even if you follow me. You should go to other powerful warriors for help." It was not that Luli wasn't kind. If it was something he could help, he wouldn't hesitate. This was a dangerous journey, and he did not want to carry two burdens. He was not a savior. Luli's refusal didn't make Zishi retreat. She wasn't even disappointed at all. She tilted her head and said, "Big brother, you are strong. I can feel it. Also, my abilities complement you. If we work together, it will be much safer." This, Luli was surprised again. The little girl didn't seem to be lying. She was serious, but a little girl pretending to be an adult. It was hard to avoid feeling awkward. Luli thought about it and asked, "What powerful skills does Zishi have? Why don't you show it to me?" "Big brother, you've seen it." Zishi blinked her eyes and said, "Big brother, don't you remember that beast roar?" "What?" Luli frowned in confusion. Then, his pupils contracted. A few days ago, he did hear a beast roar. It was the roar of a powerful immortal beast that made his blood tumble. After the immortal beast roared, it stopped and its chi and blood disappeared. At that time, Luli found it strange. Luli asked in disbelief, "That beast roar was made by you?" "PFF," Zishi burst into laughter. Her eyes curved up as she said, "Big brother, you are so stupid. Zishi is not a immortal beast. That immortal beast was suppressed by Zishi." Luli was speechless. His instinct told him that this little girl was joking. How could this little girl suppress such a powerful immortal beast? If she could suppress it, then why would she need to work with him when she had such a powerful combat ability? However, looking at the pure eyes of the little girl, Luli felt that she was not lying. He paused for a moment and asked, "Does Zishi have a strange skill that can suppress immortal beasts?" "Yes." Zishi nodded seriously and said, "Zishi's race has a powerful skill that can suppress most immortal beasts and ferocious beasts. However, Zishi's skill cannot suppress powerful warriors. That is why I said that I and Big Brother are complementary. Big Brother, you have the miraculous art of hiding and powerful combat ability. But Zishi can suppress immortal beasts. Also, Zishi's perception is very good. When Big Brother is hiding, Zishi can feel it." Luli's body glowed. Then, he went into hiding and quietly went behind Zishi. Zishi turned around at once. Her gem-like eyes looked over and locked onto Luli's eyes accurately. So miraculous! Luli was secretly surprised. Then, he moved again. Zishi could still find him easily. She looked at him with a smile all the time. Luli thought for a moment and entered the Dharma realm. This time, Zishi was confused. She looked around blankly. After a while, she said, "Big brother, you are so good. I can't find you. Big brother, come out." Buzzing, the space twisted a bit. Luli came out. He looked at Zishi with admiration and said, "Zishi, you are also good. You can see through my art of hiding. Okay, I believe in your ability. But I have one question. Why do you trust me so much? Aren't you afraid that I will harm you?" "No." Zishi liked to smile, and her smile was very sweet. She looked up at Luli and said, "Zishi also has a strange ability. I can sense good and evil. If someone is evil or has evil intentions towards Zishi, I can tell at a glance." "Impressive." Luli gave her a thumbs up and asked curiously, "What kind of race is Zishi? Are you a native race of the immortal region? And where are you going?" Zishi didn't hide anything. She explained, "Our race is called the Chinya race. My full name is Chinya Zishi. Our race is very rare. Big brother, you must have never heard of it. Zishi is not from the immortal region. I am from the Tianming galaxy. I am going to the eastern region. Big brother, you are going there as well, right? Oh, I see. Luli thought about it. He pointed to the Saint King behind her and said, Is this your race as well? No, Zishi shook her head and said, He is an escort I hired. If you are willing to take me with you, I will let him go. Hired? You came to the immortal region alone? Lu Li's eyes widened. Seeing Zishi nod, he was speechless again. There were many strange things in the world. This little girl was too mysterious and magical. How could such a young girl dare to come to the immortal region alone? How did she do it? It was a miracle that she was still alive. She was just a little girl, yet her family allowed her to come to the immortal region alone? What was she doing in the immortal region? And she clearly wanted to go to the eastern region. Could it be that she heard about the immortal region and came to the eastern region to play? One last question. If you can answer me, I will take you with me. Luli thought about it and asked, Why do you want to go to the eastern region? The little girl didn't even think about it. She tilted her head and said, I always hear a call in my dreams, telling me to go to the eastern region to find a mountain. So, I really want to go and have a look. Third Sect Master. Chapter 33:53. Luli hurried on his way again, but with the addition of a mysterious little girl. This little girl had magical abilities and was full of mysteries. She inexplicably trusted him and even dared to team up with him alone. The universe was full of wonders. Luli had seen many strange races and they all had strange skills. But this little girl was even more magical and mysterious than he had seen before. This little girl looked like she was only 4 or 5 years old. Not to mention that she had the combat strength of an emperor realm. She dared to come to the celestial region at such a young age? And she actually had the key to enter the celestial region? How could her family be at ease? Besides, she had hired a few guards. Wasn't she afraid that those guards would kill her and rob her celestial stones? Or sell her? Why did she keep dreaming of this mountain? Was that mountain still calling her? And how did she know that this mountain was in the eastern region of the celestial region? What did a 4 or 5-year-old girl know? But this little girl could travel alone in the celestial region. This was a miracle. It was a miracle that she was still alive. Luli flew with this little girl. Because her speed was a bit slower, Luli could only fly with her. After flying for a few days, Luli saw her magical abilities. Her perceptive ability was amazing, not just average. It was 10 times better than Luli's when he used the trace of the Great Tao. Before Luli sensed it, she could accurately predict the existence of immortal beasts ahead. In order to prove her ability, Luli deliberately flew forward for a distance and sensed the existence of immortal beasts ahead. It seemed that Zishi really did have an aura that was especially sensitive to beasts. However, there was a problem. Since Zishi could avoid it in advance, why did she encounter that fairy beast earlier? Moreover, her perception was so abnormal. Why was she intercepted and killed before? Luli asked Zishi. She pouted and said, Because someone had ill intentions towards me and wanted to capture me. It was the warriors in our warship. Therefore, I had no choice but to escape to the place with immortal beasts and scare away the bad guys with the help of immortal beasts. Luli nodded slightly and asked, Are the bad guys still there? Are the bad guys at Mount Purple Peak still there? They didn't come to Mount Purple Peak. Zishi shook her head and said, I don't know where they went. All right. Luli didn't ask any more questions. He flew forward with Zishi. With Zishi here, Luli didn't have to search. He could just fly forward with her. That being said, Zishi would feel tired after every period of time. She asked Luli to put her into his interspatial artifact to rest. Zishi was really careless. She was sleeping soundly in Luli's interspatial artifact. Was she not afraid that Luli would sell her out? A little girl who was only a few years old didn't panic at all in a place like the immortal region. It was as if she had come out to play with her family. This made Luli exclaim in admiration. Luli was neither too fast nor too slow. In half a month, he had covered a distance that was 1/4 the distance of a battleship. That was to say, it would take Luli 4 times longer to get to the Cloud King City, and this was assuming there were no problems along the way. They didn't run into any danger during the half a month. Though there were some powerful immortal beasts along the way, either Zishi warned them in advance or Luli sensed them and avoided them in advance. Luli didn't run into any warriors along the way. Though there were cities or caves or spiritual lands nearby, Luli didn't enter them. Usually, small cities and spiritual mountains were occupied by major forces. If he got too close, it would be easy for a chaotic battle to break out. Zishi didn't talk much. She didn't seem to be too curious about some of the strange landscapes in the immortal region. Along the way, she just silently observed the scenery around her. Every 2 to 4 hours, she would take out a mystical fruit and eat it. She didn't eat anything else but mystical fruit. Luli didn't watch her cultivate. He was either sleeping or silently observing the scenery around him. At certain moments, Luli had a strange feeling in his heart. Perhaps the soul of an old woman was hidden in Zishi's young body? Although her eyes looked pure and innocent, she was too calm and rational when it came to many things. This was not how a 4 or 5-year-old girl should behave. Even though he had some doubts, Luli didn't ask too much. At the moment, at least Zishi didn't have any evil intentions towards him. It would be hard for her to hurt him, right? The two of them could complement each other. Luli would fly with her to protect her, and she would help Luli avoid immortal beasts. Brother Lu, there are warriors fighting up ahead. Let's go around them. After another 4 or 5 days, Zishi suddenly spoke. She looked very serious. Luli also sensed it because there was a space fluctuation over there. Even though they were far away, the space fluctuation here was already very obvious. Even at such a long distance, the fluctuation could still be felt. This meant that the battle over there was very intense. Moreover, it was a battle between super powerful warriors. Luli immediately took Zishi to the side. However, they weren't so lucky. In the distance, 2 black figures were flying towards them at high speed. The battlefield had changed. Let's go in. Luli put Zishi into his interspatial artifact, and then immediately went into hiding. He went underground in a very low-key manner. He wanted to wait for the 2 powerful warriors to leave first. In the distance, 2 powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the absolute completion realm were fighting. Luli didn't even dare to use his psychic power. He hid in a ravine in a low-key manner. Originally, he thought that when the powerful warriors were fighting, they wouldn't care about a small fry like him. After all, he was only an Emperor Realm warrior on the surface. If he was distracted when 2 powerful warriors were fighting, it would be easy for something big to happen. However, something happened that made Luli so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. The powerful warrior who was chasing them suddenly looked at him. Then, he waved the saber in his hand and a ray of sword light came down, toppling the mountains and overturning the seas. Even though it was just a casual move, Luli felt the power that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas. It was as if the entire heaven and earth were affected the moment he waved the saber. He was suppressed by heaven and earth. He couldn't even breathe. He could not move at all. He could only watch as the saber came down. **T. Luli cursed to himself. At this moment of life and death, he couldn't conserve his strength. With an idea, he vanished on the spot and entered the realm of Dharma. Boom! As soon as he went in, the sword light whooshed over. The mountain where he was at was cut into a ravine so deep that the bottom could not be seen. The mountains nearby were shaking violently. Rocks were rolling and animals were running away in fright. That powerful warrior was surprised. The other one in front of him stopped as well. 2 strands of psychic power looked around. After a moment, the 2 looked at each other. Their eyes glowed. Lunatic Yuan, the powerful warrior who was attacking him, asked, "Did you feel it? Where is that bastard?" Lunatic Yuan shook his head and said, "He was not killed and he didn't run away. It doesn't seem like he used teleportation or anything like that. But somehow, he just disappeared. How miraculous! Stop fighting. Let's find him." The powerful warrior who was attacking him said with excitement, "If we can find him, maybe we can learn a freaky skill. This is weird. How can he disappear under our noses?" Third Master. Chapter 33-54. The two powerful warriors were not really fighting just now. They were just learning from each other. That was why they noticed Lu Li's attack. Otherwise, how could two powerful warriors be distracted in a fight? It was remarkable enough that an Emperor Realm warrior could survive Lu Li's attack. The fact that Lu Li could run away under their noses and disappear miraculously surprised the two powerful warriors. They were excited as well. If they could find Lu Li, then they could learn this miraculous way of escaping. They began to search nearby. The search area was expanding and the nearby areas were bombarded indiscriminately. They searched for the time for one incense stick to burn but still couldn't find Lu Li. They decided to expand the search area to a radius of hundreds of millions of miles. They suspected that it was teleportation. They planned to spend a month to search carefully to see if they could find Lu Li. Lu Li didn't dare to move. He didn't even dare to use the mark of the Great Path to check. If the powerful warrior sensed it, he might be waiting nearby. Lu Li couldn't leave even if he wanted to. He couldn't stay in the realm of Dharma forever. Days passed by. Half a month later, Lu Li secretly used the mark of the Great Path to make sure that there were no warriors nearby. He didn't rush out. Instead, he tried to sense the surroundings. The surroundings were a mess. The two powerful warriors had blasted a scene of desolation. Lu Li used psychic power into the interspatial artifact and asked Zishi to wait for a while. He didn't feel safe yet. If he went out now, he might be targeted by the old demons. What if the two old demons hadn't gone far? He waited for another half a month and tried to make sure that there were no powerful warriors outside. Then he came out and let Zishi out as well. He asked Zishi to check. The two powerful warriors are not far away. They are still nearby. Zishi tried to sense. Her pointy nose twitched and she said seriously. She pointed to the way they came and said, "If you want to go, I suggest this way." "Then let's go." Lu Li didn't want to stay here any longer. Even if he wanted to go into the realm of Dharma, he must find another place. Otherwise, it would still be unsafe. He left with Zishi quickly. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, he put Zishi into the interspatial artifact and then went back into the realm of Dharma. Similarly, he stayed in the law realm for half a month. After confirming that it was safe, he came out and continued to flee with Zishi. This time it was very smooth. He took a long detour and traveled stealthily for more than half a month. He and Zishi were only relieved when they were hundreds of millions of miles away from that place. After resting for 2 days, Lu Li and Bai Xiaoshuang moved on. They ran into ferocious beasts and warriors every now and then. Zishi's strange ability could detect it in advance, so there was no need to pay attention to immortal beasts. Usually, if there were martial artists nearby, they would be able to sense it in advance. The southern region was relatively safer. Lu Li and Zishi had more daunting experiences than dangerous ones. They had spent many nights together and they were quite lucky. None of them had a nightmare. That being said, Lu Li and Zishi's senses were very strong. If there were nightmares, they could find them at once and run away. There's a large-scale battle ahead. After traveling for another half a month, Zishi suddenly spoke. Lu Li stopped sensing at once. Sure enough, the space and spiritual chi were fluctuating strangely. He put Zishi into his interspatial ring and went into stealth mode. Then, he quietly went to the left. This time, he was not so lucky. As soon as he went to the left, many teams of warriors whizzed over. At first, he thought the warriors were coming for him. But he sensed and found that the warriors were fleeing in disorder. Clearly, the two forces were fighting, and one side was defeated. Now, he had two choices. The first was to run away with the main force. In this way, he would be inconspicuous and would have a higher chance of escaping. The second was to go directly into the Law Realm. In this way, nobody would find him. After thinking about it for the time for one breath, Luli finally decided to run away with the main force. There were powerful warriors coming from behind. In the next second, the powerful warrior's psychic power would scan over. If Luli were to enter the Law Realm, he might attract the attention of the powerful warriors. There were hundreds of thousands of fleeing warriors. Luli could follow them easily by disguising himself. Then, he could go around them. He was stealthy at the moment. When the main force arrived, Luli used skill of transfiguration to disguise himself as the one with the most races. Then, he ran away with the main force quietly. It was a mess at the moment. Warriors were flying everywhere. Nobody would mind that Luli was in the mix. Luli controlled his speed and lowered his realm to the peak of the Great Emperor realm so that he could follow the main force at a moderate speed. Boom, 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 the main force was catching up. But Luli was at the front. There were hundreds of thousands of warriors behind him. By the time the main force killed the hundreds of thousands of warriors, the warriors would be long gone. Charge! Luli had just run for hundreds of thousands of miles when he saw battleships coming from the left, followed by teams of warriors. There was an army in front of him, and there were two warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm. Charge! The fleeing warriors had made up their minds. They were blocked in front of them and were being chased from behind. There was no way for them to run. The only way to survive was to fight with their lives and break out of the encirclement. Led by a group of Saint Emperors, they charged forward. Luli was frustrated. He did not know what to do. He could only pretend to follow the army and charge over. However, he controlled his speed and waited for the two armies to collide before he quietly slipped away. "Bastard, you want to run?" A Saint Emperor noticed Luli. He whooshed over and stabbed at Luli with a heavy awl. Luli's eyes glowed. He released a formation. That Saint Emperor was only at the initial stage of the Saint Emperor. Luli sealed off his soul at once. Luli took out a rod and smashed the Saint Emperor away. Luli kept on running. That Saint Emperor came to his senses after he was smashed away. He felt his face was stinging with blood. The Saint Emperor flew into a rage and chased after Luli. Luli stopped attacking. He sped up and sped up. That Saint Emperor was hot on his heels. There was a powerful warrior on a battleship in the distance. He used psychic power to check Luli's direction and became cautious. Luli was fast after he sped up. In the time for a few breaths, he had covered dozens of thousands of miles. That Saint Emperor was surprised. How come Luli was getting faster? How could an Emperor Realm warrior be so fast even if he used a skill? Soon, Luli had covered hundreds of thousands of miles. That Saint Emperor was still chasing after him. Luli was losing his patience. He stopped, looked at that Saint Emperor and said, "I will give you one chance. Go back or die." Ha ha ha. That Saint Emperor laughed. But he had only laughed for a while when Luli released a formation. He dashed over and smashed at the Saint Emperor with the rod in his hand with all his strength. Boom! Blood sprayed everywhere. The Saint Emperor's head was crushed. Luli took away the interspatial ring and left. Remember the mobile website. Chapter 3360 Still trying to run? Page 1/1. Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 3355. They successfully escaped from the battlefield. Luli and Zishi kept moving forward. For the next 3 months their luck was good. They didn't encounter too many twists and turns on their way. They had a long way to go. It had been almost half a year since they left the Purple Mountain. Luli found something surprising. Zishi didn't grow taller. Theoretically speaking, she had been eating mystical fruits every day. She should be 4 or 5 years old now, which should be the golden age for her to grow. Back then, Unlure had been growing like crazy. She felt different every month. However, Zishi was still the same. Her body didn't change at all. She didn't grow 1 inch. When they were resting in a hill, Luli couldn't help but ask, "Zishi, why don't you grow taller?" "Not," Zishi shook her head and said. "Apart from 2 situations, our race will always look like this until death. Brother Lu, you may have some misunderstanding about me. Actually, I am more than 20 years old now." Luli was startled. Many of the doubts that he couldn't figure out before were now cleared up. Why did a little girl who was only a few years old dare to come to the immortal domain? Why did she look so sensible? How did she treat people? She seemed like an adult. She was just physically young, but mentally she was already an adult. Zishi looked at Luli with a smile and said, "Brother Lu, even though I am more than 20 years old, I am still a child. Brother Lu, you must protect and love me." Luli curled his lips, feeling a bit awkward. An adult acting cute like a child. If he didn't know, it would be fine. But if he did, it wouldn't be natural. Sometimes, when Luli was escaping, he would carry her. Zishi said she was more than 20 years old. What if she was lying? Her race had always looked like this. Even if they were tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years old, they would still look like this. What if Zishi was an old witch that was tens of thousands of years old? Thinking about this, Luli felt even more awkward. He didn't say anything. He just nodded slightly and said, "I will try my best. As long as I am alive, I will not let anyone hurt you." "Thank you, Brother Lu." Zishi smiled sweetly. She looked very cute and adorable. Unfortunately, knowing that she was more than 20 years old, Luli felt awkward no matter what. Luli remembered what Zishi said and asked curiously, "You just said there were 2 situations? Could it be that when you encounter those 2 situations, your appearance will change?" "Yes." Zishi thought about it and said, "This is our race's secret. I hope you won't tell anyone else. The first situation is when our souls are extremely weak. Our bodies will grow quickly and we will look like adults. The other is that when I die, my physical body disappears and turns into ashes." Zishi said. Luli was amazed. The Qianye race was really strange and unheard of. If Zishi did not say it herself and he heard about the situation of the Qianye race, he would not have believed it so easily. As they continued walking, the journey was relatively peaceful. Occasionally, they would run into ferocious beasts and martial artists. However, Zishi's strange magic power and Lu Li's art of concealment allowed them to easily avoid it. Lu and Li and she had they were not far. Yun. The Lu and there and they and there they and they were. And the journey and were. And was and were. And the was. The was. And the. The Cloud King City was only halfway there. There was still a long way to go from the Cloud King City to the Mystic Armor City. The situation there was more complicated. The eastern region had the most Asmodeans. Of the 9 regions, the chaos at the eastern region was the top 3. Let's go to the Cloud King City first and see if there is a way to get to the Mystic Armor City directly. Luli made up his mind. While he was thinking, Zishi suddenly said, "Brother Lu, there is a battleship coming from behind." Luli flew down at once and went into hiding. Soon, a battleship came from the left and whizzed past Luli. It didn't stop. Some psychic power scanned over, but they were only from average Saint Kings. Naturally, they couldn't find Luli. Luli waited for a while and the battleship left. But before long, Zishi warned him again that there was another battleship coming. Luli had to hide again. In the next 10 to 10 hours, Luli changed his route several times. But during this time, dozens of battleships passed by. There were hundreds of warriors on each battleship, and many of them were Saint Kings. Something must be going on up ahead. Luli felt something was off. He was the only one that saw so many battleships. There must be more in other directions. That meant that there must be at least hundreds of battleships and tens of thousands of warriors heading in that direction. Also, those warriors were clearly not average warriors. They seemed to be the young generation of different races. Is there a land of treasure up ahead? Luli wondered. He didn't want to join the fun at all. But the battleship was heading to the east. He couldn't go around it, even if he wanted to. He couldn't fly hundreds of millions of miles to the north and then go to the east. He had to keep a low profile and fly to the east. On his way, he would run into more battleships and some powerful warriors. Their destination was the east. After a day of traveling, Luli found a small city up ahead. He checked from the distance. The city was bustling with activity. Warriors were coming in and out. There were more battleships coming to the city, and then hundreds of warriors would fly down and enter the city. There were also passing warriors that flew over and entered the city directly. Luli thought about it and decided to go to the small city to have a look. He wanted to see what was going on around here so that he could be on his way. If there was any danger, he could run away in advance. It was easy to get into the city. Luli and Zishi only had to spend tens of millions of celestial stones to get into the city. Luli found a tavern for Zishi to stay in, and then he went out to gather some information. Half a day later, Luli came back. He looked awful. Seeing this, Zishi asked in a hurry, "What is it? Is something wrong?" "Not really." Luli shook his head and said, "It is said that there is a rare immortal beast up ahead. It is an injured one, the flying cloud beast. It is said that the beast core of the flying cloud beast contains the Tao of nature. Once you get it, you can learn a skill. Therefore, powerful warriors of nearby forces have been alerted. An area with a radius of hundreds of millions of miles is blocked off. We will have to take a long detour if we want to go there." "Flying cloud beast?" Zishi's jewel-like eyes glowed. She said, "It is not a skill. It can increase the power of one of your skills by several times. Also, there is a soul crystal in the soul of the flying cloud beast, which is a great supplement to the soul. The blood of the flying cloud beast can also refine the body. Every part of the immortal beast is a treasure." Increase the power of skills by several times? Luli was shocked. There was such an amazing ability? For example, the power of his dragon transformation could be increased by several times? He asked in disbelief, "All the skills? Is it permanent?" "If it is permanent, then even powerful warriors at the consummate realm will go crazy." "Of course it is permanent. But the higher the realm, the weaker the power. Therefore, it is not meaningful to powerful warriors who are infinitely close to the consummate realm," Zishi explained. Then she added, "Of course, this is the information I got in the Dongling city. I am not sure if it is accurate or not." "What? Brother Lu, do you want this immortal beast? If you want it, I can help you. As long as I can find this immortal beast, I can suppress it easily. P.S. 4 chapters, 1 more chapter. Third Master. Chapter 3356. Of course, Luli wanted the immortal beast. But he knew that greed could lead a man to his death. All the young warriors of the nearby forces were here. There were tens of millions of warriors and hundreds of powerful warriors that were close to the consummate realm. The powerful warriors that were close to the consummate realm might not make a move. There seemed to be an agreement among the races that the young warriors would fight for it, the Saint Kings would fight for it, and the most powerful warriors would not do anything. But once Luli got it, all the races and forces would be united against a common enemy. They would besiege Luli like crazy. Therefore, after some consideration, Luli decided to take a detour instead of going through the center. It was too dangerous. The young masters and young ladies of the big families would have powerful warriors with them. Luli rested in the city for a day and then flew to the north quietly. He chose to take a detour of hundreds of millions of miles. It would take him a month or two more, but Luli didn't mind. It didn't matter if he got there earlier or later. The war over at Lu Xiaobai's side would not end so soon. The descendants of the king of the eastern region would not die so easily. Going to the north, Luli ran into many battleships along the way. Those battleships all went in a straight line without stopping. Every time, Luli would hide in a low-key manner. None of the warriors noticed him. Even if some powerful warriors did notice him, they didn't bother him. It was a smooth journey. After half a month, there were no more battleships. Luli sped up and flew to the east. There were no more warriors here. Luli and Zishi moved forward easily. Luli was disguised as an old man and Zishi was in her original appearance. It looked like an old man with his granddaughter. There are immortal beasts up ahead, and more than one. On this day, Zishi suddenly called out. Luli quickly went into stealth and then quickly went to the side. But as soon as he went around, several gusts of evil wind came. Then 3 huge insects rushed over. Before they got close, Luli could smell the stench and the horrifying qi and blood. Woo woo, the 3 immortal beasts roared, shaking the mountains and forests. Luli's ears hurt. When Luli was about to enter the Dharma realm, Zishi waved her hand and said, "Brother Lu, let me do it." Zishi walked to the front and opened her arms. Then, her body lit up with green light. Her eyes also lit up with green light. The green light spread out like ripples and spread to where the 3 big worms were. Something very wondrous happened. The 3 late Saint Kings actually stopped moving and began to tremble, as if they had seen the King of Beasts. Luli was secretly surprised. Just now, he had been activating the trace of the Great Path. He saw that Zishi didn't do anything. She just released a strange energy. The energy permeated into the bodies of the 3 bugs. Then, the 3 bugs stopped moving. How magical! Luli had an idea and asked, "Zishi, can you control the 3 worms?" "No." Zishi shook her head and said, "I can only suppress them. I can't control them. If I could control them, I would be able to sweep across the celestial region." "That's true." Luli nodded slightly. If Zishi could control all the celestial beasts, then he wouldn't be needed at all. She could bring a group of celestial beasts and go wherever she wanted. She could wipe out most forces. "Let's go." Luli left with Zishi. They ran into celestial beasts again after traveling for thousands of miles. This time they could avoid them easily. Just like that, they traveled for 5 or 6 days without running into any danger. They did run into some warriors, but Zishi sensed them in advance and Luli took a detour. Something is wrong. On the 8th day, Luli realized something was wrong. There were more warriors here. In just half a day, he ran into 5 teams of warriors. Each team had more than a dozen warriors and many of them were Saint Kings. Even though there were no powerful warriors that were infinitely close to the consummate realm, there must be something wrong with so many warriors all of a sudden. In the next 3 days, Luli felt the problem was getting more and more serious. During these 3 days, he ran into at least thousands of warriors. Those warriors wandered around, clearly searching for something. Could it be that the soaring beast has escaped here? Luli had this thought in his mind. If this was really the case, he didn't know if he should say it out loud. He took such a long detour and went through so much trouble to get here. How did the soaring beast come here? The further he went, the more likely Luli was to be right. He ran into more and more warriors. Battleships were flying back and forth in the sky. Countless psychic power was scanning around. Is the soaring beast small? Is it good at hiding? Luli asked Zishi. He didn't have this information before because many warriors had never seen the soaring beast. Zishi nodded and said, "Yes, the soaring beast has a strange ability. It can hide continuously and it is very powerful. The soaring beast is small as well, only the size of a fist. The size of a fist? Luli touched his nose. How could such a powerful immortal beast be so small? The more powerful one was, the bigger one would be. He voiced out his doubts. Zishi thought about it and said, I don't think so. I heard that the king of the eastern region is a super powerful immortal beast, comparable to a warrior at the consummate realm. The king of the eastern region is small as well, only the size of a head. A Little White's body appeared in Lu Li's mind. It was the same for Little White. It never grew big. At its biggest, it was only the size of a fist. It was more likely that Little White was Lu Xiaobai. Let's go. Moving on, Luli was relieved to find that many psychic powers didn't linger on them even when they passed by. There were too many warriors nearby. Nobody would pay attention to an average old man and a little girl. They were here to find the immortal beast, not to make trouble. The soaring beast was injured. Whoever found it first would be rich. The further they went, the more warriors there were. Luli disguised his realm to the initial stage of Saint King realm and swaggered on with Zishi. A powerful warrior at the initial stage of Saint King realm brought his little granddaughter to train. It was a harmonious scene that would not attract attention. There were too many warriors nearby. Nobody would pay attention. Everyone was in a hurry to find the immortal beast. Who would pay attention to Luli? After 4 or 5 days, Luli met tens of thousands of warriors. The mountains and plains were filled with warriors. He also found some powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm. These powerful warriors were very secretive. They were secretly tailing some young masters and young ladies. Luli also saw many young warriors of the major families and forces. There were many at the later stage of Saint King realm. In the immortal region, Saint Kings were not valuable. They were everywhere. There were also many powerful warriors infinitely close to the consummate realm. There must be many warriors at the consummate realm as well. There seems to be a wretched land ahead? After another 7 or 8 days, Luli looked at the map and frowned. There was a wretched land ahead. It was not particularly dangerous, but it was a wretched land after all. Under normal circumstances, he should go around it. Never mind. Thinking of the warriors ahead, Luli made up his mind and walked on. With so many powerful warriors, they could even flatten a wretched land, let alone a wretched land. Chapter 33:57. The Land of Disaster was famous around here because it covered a large area. Many things had happened here as well. The Land of Disaster was filled with toxins and mazes. Often, warriors would go in by mistake and disappear. More than 500 years ago, 3 forces worked together and mobilized many powerful warriors and armies to explore the Land of Disaster. More than 100,000 warriors and powerful warriors went in, but only less than half of them came out. Most of the warriors died of toxins. The mazes were so strong that even Saint Kings at the later stage of the Land of Disaster would be confused and could not find their way. It was said that the mazes were naturally formed and difficult to destroy. They could recover automatically after they were destroyed. More importantly, in some areas, one could feel the source of life was slipping away. Warriors in those areas would age quickly. If they did not leave soon, they would die of old age. That was why this place was called the Land of Disaster. Few warriors went into the Land of Disaster. There were no top-level elixirs or anything like that. Besides, there were many powerful immortal beasts. What were they going to do in there? Were they looking for trouble? This time, many warriors went in without any hesitation. It was confirmed that the soaring cloud beast had entered the Land of Disaster. They had been hunting it for such a long time. Most of the young masters and young ladies were here to gain experience. How could they back off in the face of difficulties? This time, there were at least hundreds of powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm and more than 1,000,000 warriors. The young masters and young ladies would not back off. The more dangerous a place was, the more excited they would be. Many warriors gathered together. This time, they did not act rashly. Powerful warriors of different forces and races gathered together and marched in teams. When Luli walked in, he could see teams of warriors walking in and destroying everything along the way. They were prepared to flatten the land of disaster and turn it into a wasteland. They wanted to destroy all the poisonous miasma, illusory arrays, and bewildering arrays. They wanted to see where the soaring cloud beast could escape to. Therefore, as soon as Luli entered the disaster land, he heard noises of explosions coming from all directions. Warriors were attacking everywhere. Forests were blown up, mountains were leveled, and swamps were filled up. Anyways, wherever the warriors went, everything would be turned into a desert. Nothing would be left behind. This place is very strange. As soon as Luli came in, he sensed something was off. Ever since he entered the wretched land, he had a chilly feeling as if there were ghosts floating around. Brother Lu, Zishi is so scared. Brother, hug me. Zishi grabbed Luli's hand. There was a trace of panic on her face. If Luli didn't know that she had the mind of an adult, he would have been charmed by her cute expression. He curled his lips and said, "Speak normally. Don't pretend to be a 4 or 5-year-old child all day long. Aren't you tired?" "I'm not tired." Zishi raised her head and said seriously, "Zishi has always been like this. What did it have to do with age? Brother Lu doesn't like Zishi anymore?" Luli was speechless. He didn't want to say more. He said, "How about you go into my interspatial artifact? I feel that this place is very strange." "It's not very strange, it's quite strange." This time, Zishi said with a straight face, "The destroyed place is recovering slowly. If it were not for the fact that a powerful warrior had carved a seal of laws here, then the natural formation here must be freaky. Brother Lu, I think we should leave. I feel uneasy." "Yes, I think so as well." Luli nodded and then walked out with Zishi. More warriors came in. They didn't feel it was strange to see Luli and Zishi leaving. After all, Zishi was too young. Something is wrong. After a while, Luli realized that he hadn't made it out of the wretched land. His mind was weighed down. He didn't go far in. Theoretically speaking, he should have made it out by now. This place is not a natural formation, but one built by a powerful warrior. Now, the formation is activated. Luli thought about it and said in a serious voice, "I feel there is a conspiracy. Maybe the flying beasts are part of it. There is a powerful warrior in the wretched land who wants to kill the 1,000,000 warriors." 500 years ago, several forces worked together to attack the wretched land. Later, half of the warriors retreated, which meant that it was possible to leave the wretched land. Also, this place was not a perilous place, just a normal one. If one could not leave after coming in, then how could it be a normal one? Blood Fairy. Luli let Blood Fairy out. He didn't leave. He waited for Blood Fairy to find out. Zishi stared at the ground with her jewel-like eyes. She clicked her tongue in wonder and said, "Brother Lu, this goblin of yours looks strong. I think it must have a profound understanding of divine inscriptions." "You can tell that?" Luli was surprised. Zishi nodded and said, "This goblin of yours is filled with the presence of laws and marks of Tao, but it does not have any abilities. You let it out. Needless to say, you are using it to crack the formation." Luli gave her a thumbs up and said nothing else. He waited for Blood Fairy to find out. More warriors came in, but Luli didn't warn them. Since they were already here, there was no point in reminding them. What is the conspiracy? It is pointless to kill the 1,000,000 warriors, isn't it? What is more, there must be over 100 warriors who are almost at the absolute realm. Are you sure you can kill them all? Luli could not figure it out. He did not know about the major families and forces nearby. He could not tell. He had to wait for Blood Fairy to find out. There were still sounds of explosions coming from up ahead. Luli could also see that the destroyed terrain was recovering. The destroyed trees were growing again. It was extremely strange. After an hour, Blood Fairy came back. She said, "Master, this place is strange. This is not an average formation. It is a super formation formed by dozens of powerful divine inscriptions. To crack it is difficult. It will take at least hundreds of years." Hundreds of years? Luli was shocked. Blood Fairy's ability to crack formations was incredible. It was said that it would take her hundreds of years? Just how perverted was this divine formation? Luli thought about it and asked a critical question. Are the divine inscriptions here formed naturally, or are they set up by powerful warriors? Yes. Blood Fairy said with certainty. There are some natural divine inscriptions here, but many are set up by powerful warriors as well. But the design is ingenious. There is no trace of it, and it is combined with natural divine inscriptions. Therefore, it looks like a natural formation. I have seen through it. The warrior who set up the divine inscriptions is very powerful. His understanding of divine inscriptions is hundreds of times better than mine. I cannot destroy the divine inscriptions. Even if I can create an opening for you to escape, it will take hundreds of years. No. Luli's heart was weighed down. A powerful warrior who was so accomplished in divine inscriptions had set up a trap. Unless a warrior at the Absolute Realm came, there was no way to break it. Everyone would be trapped. Chapter 33:58. Luli could not afford to wait for hundreds of years. He had to wait for the situation to change and for the powerful warriors inside to crack the formation. This time, there were more than 100 powerful warriors and 1 million warriors. How many Saint Kings were there? What if there were some with special abilities? Luli didn't move. He just sat there and waited. He knew that something must have gone wrong in the depth of the land of disaster. A large number of warriors might have died already. If he went to the center now, he might perish along with them. More warriors came in. They didn't mind Luli sitting here. They flew in quickly, fearing that the soaring beasts would be taken away if they were too slow. Luli shook his head as he watched them rushing in. Were they in a hurry to court death? 3 days later, not many warriors came in. Luli believed that at least 2 million warriors had come in. He was not sure how many warriors were close to the consummate realm. After all, those powerful warriors were hiding, and it was hard to find them. There were still sounds of explosions. They must be tens of thousands of miles away from here. They had advanced for tens of thousands of miles and destroyed many mountains, forests, and swamp. Many of the places that they had destroyed had been restored. The terrain around Luli had been restored, and the trees that had been destroyed had all grown back. Luli still didn't move. He wanted to let it be for a while and wait for the situation to change. The situation inside was a bit messy. There were indeed 2 million warriors. All the forces in an area with a radius of hundreds of millions of miles had sent their armies and warriors over. For one thing, they wanted to surround the soaring beast. For another, they wanted the young warriors of different forces to come and have some experience. Most importantly, the young master of a large clan had come. This large clan was the strongest clan in the area, and it was an overlord-class faction. This young master was talented as well. He was only half a step away from the perfection realm. It was highly likely that he would become a family patriarch in the future. This young master was also a person that the families and forces nearby were trying to befriend. Recently, this family had been looking for pretty girls as well. Therefore, this mission was also a way to socialize and meet people. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many families and forces coming. When young masters and young ladies came, they would have to show off and protect them. That was why so many warriors had come. With so many soldiers and experts squeezed into the wretched land, it was inevitable that chaos would occur. especially with the illusory and bewildering arrays, as well as the sudden appearance of poisonous gas. Many of the warriors inside had already been poisoned. The poisonous gas here was very terrifying. It suddenly emerged from the ground and enveloped the surrounding area. All the warriors inside would be poisoned. The symptoms of the poisoned cultivators were not particularly severe. They would only feel weak all over, unable to gather source energy, and their souls would be especially weak. Even moving would be difficult. There wasn't much of a problem on the surface, but his internal organs were slowly rotting, and his soul seemed to be slowly weakening. Fortunately, the poison here was not uncontrollable. As long as there were top-notch pills, it could be temporarily suppressed. However, they had yet to find a way to completely remove the poison. Those soldiers had refined all kinds of divine medicines, but they still could not find a way to cure the poison. The poison here was also like this in the past. It was almost impossible to detoxify. Of the half of the martial artists who went out, a small half were poisoned. A portion of the poisoned martial artists had died, and the remaining portion had used top-notch divine medicines to completely detoxify the poison. The various races and factions would not be so generous to use top-notch divine medicines for an ordinary soldier. Fortunately, this poison was not so easy to kill. These soldiers could still live for a few more decades. If they met a divine physician from the medical sect, they might have a chance to detoxify the poison. These soldiers were not very clear about this poison. The matter back then had been sealed. Only the upper echelons of the various factions and some old demons knew about it. They thought that the poison was not strong and was easily suppressed now. Hence, they did not pay much attention to it. Those young masters and young ladies were even less concerned. They all had top-notch divine medicines. As for the life and death of the ordinary soldiers, they completely disregarded the fact that the immortal domain did not lack ordinary soldiers the least. In the middle of the army was a group of formidable martial artists. They were true formidable martial artists. They were all extremely close to the consummation stage, and there were more than 30 of them. In the middle of this group of formidable martial artists were 8 young men and women. Among these 8 young men and women, it was obvious that the leader was a handsome young master wearing a golden robe. No matter which martial artist it was, as long as their divine senses swept over, they would subconsciously stop their attention on him. It was as if he was the center of the whole world. He did not release his aura, but there was a formless aura in his body that would make all the nearby living beings focus on him. It was as if there was a Buddha light behind him. It was hard not to pay attention to him. This young master's temperament was very special. He was like a consecrated treasure sword, radiating with light and unparalleled sharpness. There were 4 young ladies at the side, and they were all looking at this young master with admiration. This young master's facial features were very well defined. It was as if they were carved by knives and axes. There was a vertical eye in the middle of his eyebrows. However, it was closed at the moment. He was looking into the depths of his eyes. Things are a little troublesome. He pondered for a moment and said, "This place is not as simple as we think. I can smell a hidden aura. The formation here is obviously a few hundred times stronger than it was a few hundred years ago. It was set up by a formidable martial artist. The cloud-soaring beast is also a part of the conspiracy." Wow! As soon as this young master finished his words, there was an immediate uproar. Even many experts who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm were shocked. They did not feel anything wrong. How could this young master be so sure? "Young Master Duan," a young lady at the side asked, "are you serious? I don't think there is anything wrong." Young Master Duan glanced at this beautiful young lady and said expressionlessly, "Is there a need for me to joke at a time like this? You guys can't see the problem because you don't have the ability. Just wait and see. There will be news soon." Young Master Duan had already sent a few formidable martial artists to investigate. There should be news coming back soon. The surrounding troops continued to attack, destroying the small mountains and forests in the vicinity. Half a day later, 2 formidable martial artists flew over. They were both covered in wounds. One of them had no flesh on his back. His bones could even be seen. When they flew over, there was an uproar. The nearby troops all stopped and looked over. Young clan head. After the 2 martial artists flew over, just when they wanted to say something, young Master Duan waved his hand. He released a light barrier and enveloped the 2 martial artists. Then, he asked with a serious expression, "Where are the other 3? They are all dead." The 2 late-stage Saint Emperors smiled bitterly and said, "There are aboriginals here. Many aboriginals and many formidable martial artists. There are 3 large aboriginal clans here. They are the remnants of the aboriginals who escaped 200,000 years ago. The deepest part of this place is connected to a few small worlds. Those aboriginals are hiding in those small worlds." 200,000 years ago? The nearby martial artists' hearts sank. 200,000 years ago, the nearby major forces did encircle and annihilate the 3 large aboriginal clans. That battle was extremely tragic. Countless martial artists died. The strength of the 3 large aboriginal clans had also spread across the entire immortal region. They originally thought that the 3 large aboriginal clans had already perished. Unexpectedly, they were hiding in the wretched land. Could it be that this was a conspiracy of the 3 large aboriginal clans to trap and kill them? Chapter 3359. The immortal realm was originally the same as the 9 major star fields, just a super big realm. There were indigenous people here, just like the desolate race of Infinite Region. The immortal realm was one of the biggest treasures in the world, and the indigenous people here were naturally very strong. There were many powerful races here, and they were very powerful. The big races here had once fought their way into the 4th and 5th heavens, fighting for supremacy there, and shocked the whole world. When the worlds above the 4th heaven collapsed, the big races and experts who were not dead came down and scattered in the uncollapsed realms. Back then, there were countless Saint Emperors in the Middle King realms, and that was also the era when the Middle King realms were at their strongest. When the experts and big races came down, they naturally had to choose good realms. The immortal realm was undoubtedly the biggest treasures, so it became the center where all the big races and experts gathered. Countless big races and experts killed their way in, and the immortal realm became the darkest era in history. Countless experts had fallen, and innumerable great clans had been annihilated. Every piece of territory would be plunged into chaos, and often, the other great clans and experts who had just taken over the territory would attack again. The indigenous people of the immortal realm were undoubtedly the most tragic. This was their home, and they had lived here for generations, reproducing and growing here. This was the blessed land of Spirit Mountain, and all the resources here belonged to them. But when the experts and big races of the 4th heaven and above came down, everything here did not belong to them. Of the 9 realm kings, only one was the leader of a big local race, and the other realm kings were all from outside. Even the king of the east, that powerful immortal beast, was from outside. What could they do when the enemy invaded? They could either give up their territory, surrender, or perish. Just like the Middle King realms, when the demon abyss invaded, they would definitely unite against a common enemy, and all the experts would unite to resist the enemy. Unfortunately, even though the big races of the immortal realm united, there were too many experts and big races of the 4th heaven and above, and they could not resist at all. Originally, the immortal realm had tens of thousands of big races, and hundreds of billions of people. After hundreds of years of war, there were only a few hundred of the big races left, and only a few billion people left. The remaining big races all went into hiding in dangerous places, or left the immortal realm and went far away. Only the strongest clan had always stood in the northernmost area. There were a few big clans in the vicinity. Originally, these big clans had already been weakened. They had all left their homes and hid in some of the great desolate lands. However, 200,000 years later, the three great clans came back to take back their ancestral land. That battle was extremely tragic. Young Master Duan's clan rose to power in that battle. They occupied a main city here and became the ruler of this area. Originally, they thought that the three clans had been annihilated, but they didn't expect that there were still survivors of the three clans hidden in the wretched land. This caused all the experts to smell the scent of a conspiracy. All the experts felt that they had fallen into a trap. Retreat! Young Master Duan waved his hand decisively. Whether there was a conspiracy or not, it was better to retreat first. In any case, now that he had found the remnants of the three clans, he just had to report it to his superiors. Once the major powers in the vicinity banded together, they would be able to easily wipe them out. Young Master Duan was the leader. Once he gave the order, the group immediately retreated. Even though many warriors were unwilling to give up and wanted to find the soaring cloud beast, young Master Duan was the main force. As soon as they retreated, the others felt something was wrong and panicked. The group flew out quickly. Soon, there were troops and powerful warriors flying over from Lu Li's side. Some powerful warriors used psychic power to check Lu Li, but they didn't pay much attention. There were too many warriors here. Lu Li disguised his realm as the initial stage of the Saint Realm, which was not eye-catching at all. As for Zishi, Lu Li put her away. Lu Li was afraid that her identity as a member of the Qianya clan would be seen through. Seeing so many warriors flying to the west, Lu Li curled his lip. These warriors wanted to go out? In their dreams, Lu Li stood on the side and waited. He wanted to see how these 1,000,000 warriors were going to get out. As Lu Li had expected, countless warriors whizzed out and soon came back. When they saw that they had come back, they were all astonished. By the time that group of utmost powerful beings flew out and returned, all of them had dumbfounded looks on their faces as well. That was because they had flown back as well. The group of young masters and young ladies were shocked. Even powerful warriors that were infinitely close to the consummate realm were trapped? Then they would be in big trouble. If this was a conspiracy, then it would be a big problem. All the warriors could die here. Young Master Duan looked awful as well. This time, it was more obvious that there was a conspiracy. The more young Master Duan thought about the cause of this, the more he felt something was wrong. This time, almost all the forces nearby received the news that there was an injured flying cloud beast. Some were far away from those forces and some were close. Even if there were warriors spreading the news, it would be impossible for them to receive the news at the same time. Also, who injured the flying cloud beast? The flying cloud beast was not something that average warriors could hurt. If it was a powerful warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm, then why did he have to wait for others to come? That powerful warrior should have killed the flying cloud beast by now. Also, the flying cloud beast came and went like a ghost when so many powerful warriors were besieging them. It lured them all the way to the land of disaster. The land of disaster was not so strong before. 500 years ago, many warriors managed to escape. Now, not even the most powerful warrior could get out? Nobody would believe that there was nothing fishy going on here. There is fog. This is not fog. This is poison. Be careful. The poison is strong. Take some antidote pellets first. Many people shouted in alarm. All the powerful warriors used psychic power to check the depth of the land of disaster. There was a thick fog in the depth. It was dark yellow. Clearly, it was poison. Here it comes. All the powerful warriors' hearts were weighed down. The enemies were playing dirty tricks again. The poisonous fog was so thick and turbulent that there was almost no way to avoid it. The most powerful warriors could fight it off, but what about the average warriors? There is a conspiracy. Luli breathed in relief. He was wrong this time. He never intended to kill the soaring cloud beast. Somehow, he ended up in this damned place and got himself into trouble. Calm down. Let's observe the situation first. Luli quietly retreated to a corner. There were so many warriors and forces here. They would ask for help, right? There must be a warrior at the consummate realm among so many forces, right? When a warrior at the consummate realm came, the formation could be cracked. Duan Yong, go and take command. Tell everyone to stay calm and think of ways to defend against the poisonous fog. Young Master Duan said, I will contact my forefather and ask him to come over. If he comes, we will be able to overcome any trick. Young Master Duan's words cheered up the warriors and warriors. Young Master Duan's forefather was a warrior at the consummate realm, the most powerful warrior nearby. As long as he could come, then everything would be easy. Young Master Duan took out a token and poured in some origin energy. The token glowed but soon dimmed down. He made up his mind and crushed the token. But when he sensed it, he was shocked. He shouted, No, there is a powerful spatial formation here. We cannot contact the outside world at all. P.S. Chapter 4, continue. Chapter 3360. The entire land of disaster was enveloped by a powerful formation. The space here was isolated from the space outside. It was like a small world of its own. Some information could not be sent out. Of course, with so many powerful warriors and armies in the land of disaster, if there was no information coming out for a long time, the outside world would get suspicious. Even if the outside world were suspicious, they would send in scouts first. The scouts would not be able to come out after they went in. Then, the second batch of scouts would come in after a few rounds of this. It would be several months later. If something serious were to happen in there, by the time the major forces found out, there would be nothing left but dead bodies. Young Master Duan and the others did not panic. This time, there were many powerful warriors who were close to the absolute perfection realm. Even if there were many survivors of the three indigenous forces, it would not be easy to kill them all. The poisonous fog had already spread over. Over there, groups of soldiers had already gathered together. The supreme experts had also split up, each of them holding up a protective barrier, enveloping the groups of soldiers within it. Average warriors could not withstand the toxic fog. Not even detoxification pellets or elixirs could help. There were over 100 powerful warriors who were very close to the absolute perfection realm. Each of them built up a shield that covered tens of thousands of warriors. The shield enveloped the more than 1 million warriors. Luli was also enveloped by a powerful warrior's shield. But he did not mind. Even if the toxic fog was 100 times stronger, he would not be able to stop it. He could absorb any kind of poison into his realm of magic and then refine it again. Why don't they put the warriors into their interspatial artifacts? Luli was curious. 1 million warriors seemed to be a lot. However, they could put them in with thousands of interspatial artifacts. It would not be so hard. They must want the warriors to be cannon fodder. Luli had an idea. The three indigenous forces were probably about to launch an attack. With the 1 million warriors, at least, the three indigenous forces would have time to react. Luli used the trace of Tao to sense the surroundings and waited for the indigenous forces to attack. Many utmost powerful beings began to scout out the surroundings as well. Furthermore, some of them even released attacks to destroy the nearby forests in order to prevent them from being used by the three indigenous tribe races. Time passed bit by bit, and the soldiers were not particularly panicked. With so many powerhouses who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm, even if something were to happen, they would be able to suppress it. The poisonous fog was also getting thicker and thicker, but no matter how thick the poisonous fog was, it was unable to penetrate the protective barrier released by an expert who was infinitely close to the Great Perfection realm. More than 1,000,000 soldiers were waiting quietly, using silence to deal with the situation. 2 hours, half a day, 2 days. There was no movement in the surroundings. More than 1,000,000 soldiers were squeezed together, and they were on high alert. It was so quiet that it was unnerving. For such a long time, it was inevitable that the soldiers would feel oppressed. However, the outside was filled with poisonous fog, and none of the soldiers dared to move recklessly. Those powerhouses who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection stage could not remove their barriers, and could only continue to hold on. The group of experts and the young master began to communicate telepathically, discussing countermeasures and ways to deal with various situations. Among them was a core martial artist, young Master Duan. This was the young patriarch of a nearby superpower. His status was extremely high, and all the clans and powers had to give him face. He organized the discussion. After discussing for half a day, there was still no movement nearby. The experts were a little puzzled. What were the 3 native clans doing? Were they not afraid that the other forces would send reinforcements? The longer they waited, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. Soon another day passed. Night fell. The surroundings were shrouded in darkness. The suffocating atmosphere became even more suffocating. Many warriors were on guard as well. They hoped that the nightmarish night would not come, or they would all be doomed. Luli was on the alert as well. An hour later, he was taken aback. He shouted, "Oh no, the nightmarish night is coming. Think of something." Luli's senses were amazing. Having experienced the nightmarish night before, he was very sensitive to it. Given the current situation, he could not afford to worry too much. He had to issue a warning first. Luli's shout caused a stir. The powerful warriors who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection stage were taken aback out of instinct. Then, many powerful warriors had doubts. They didn't feel anything was wrong. Why was Luli so sure that it was the nightmarish night? Not daring to be careless, they began to sense. Soon, a powerful warrior yelled, "Yes, it is the nightmarish night." When the powerful warrior confirmed it, all the warriors, including the powerful warriors, were taken aback. The best way to survive the nightmarish night was to run away at once and leave the range of the nightmarish night. But right now they were trapped in the land of disaster and could not leave at all. There was nowhere for them to run, so they had to endure the nightmarish night. Something is not right. Luli suddenly thought of something. Why was the nightmarish night so coincidental? Why was it nearby? Was it a coincidence or was it done by someone? If the nightmarish night was done by powerful warriors of the 3 native races, then it would be horrifying. It was pointless to dwell on such matters. Luli had to think about how to survive the nightmarish night. He almost had the urge to go to the realm of magic right away. It would not be a big deal if the warriors were attacked by the nightmarish night. But if the warriors infinitely close to the Great Perfection stage were affected, then it would be a serious matter. The surrounding soldiers panicked. Fear appeared in the eyes of almost all the soldiers, and they looked around cautiously, afraid that the nearby soldiers would suddenly stab them. Young Master Duan and the others were panicking as well. Nobody could do anything in the nightmarish night. Even if they were in an interspatial artifact, they would still be affected. They didn't care about the lives of the average warriors. They wouldn't mind if all of them died. What they were afraid of was that the killing of the warriors would cause the powerful warriors to kill each other as well. In that case, they would all die. Therefore, young Master Duan said decisively, "Let's retreat and leave this place. It is dangerous here." In the nightmarish night, the more warriors there were, the more dangerous it would be. The more scattered they were, the easier it would be for them to survive. For the sake of their safety, it was better to split up. This was the most dangerous place. More than a dozen powerful warriors infinitely close to the great perfection stage escorted young Master Duan and the others away. As soon as those young masters and young ladies left, the other young masters and young ladies panicked. They all asked their escorts to take them away. There were more than 100 powerful warriors infinitely close to the great perfection stage, but they were basically here to protect the young masters and young ladies of their respective races and forces. Their departure caused a chain effect. More than half of them left at once. With the departure of the powerful warriors infinitely close to the great perfection stage, the shield disappeared. The poisonous fog spread over. Many warriors were poisoned at once. The situation wouldn't have changed immediately. As soon as the powerful warriors infinitely close to the great perfection stage left, an avalanche was set off. Many warriors screamed in fear. Chaos broke out. Then killing began. "We are doomed." Luli closed his eyes. He knew that the 1,000,000 warriors were doomed. Nobody could save them. In a couple of hours, none of them would be left alive. This place would turn into hell. Buzzing, Luli was not a savior. He could not save the warriors. He dashed into the Dharma realm and waited for the nightmarish night to pass. Master 3. Chapter 3361. This place had turned into hell. The warriors were already tense after staying here for such a long time. They became even more panicked when they heard that they were in the nightmare night. When the young masters and young ladies and the warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm left, the warriors here collapsed. After the chaos, the melee broke out. When the first warrior died and blood flowed out, it was like a single spark setting the prairie ablaze. The eyes of countless cultivators turned blood-red, and some of them started to attack the soldiers beside them. Many cultivators were killed, and the smell of fresh blood started to envelop the surroundings. All the cultivators went crazy. More than 1,000,000 warriors started to attack each other. The more they killed, the more confused they became. At first, some warriors still had some sense. They didn't kill the warriors nearby when they were attacked. But as the number of attacks increased, the smell of blood thickened and the warriors lost their minds. There were warriors everywhere. They attacked each other. One warrior had just killed another and then he was killed by another warrior behind him. Blood had dyed the ground red. Broken limbs and bodies piled up like mountains. Screams of pain, howls of anger, and beast-like screams came one after another. The earth trembled and the space trembled. This place had turned into hell. The killing went on for more than 4 hours. There was not a single warrior in the area. All of them were dead. As long as it was in the nightmare night, they would not stop until they killed all the living beings nearby. Therefore, the killing would go on until there was only one powerful warrior left. Just now, there was indeed one powerful warrior left. But he died not long after because of his severe injuries. Luli had been quietly sensing the situation outside. He was emotionless. He had seen many killings in his life. He had seen thousands die on battlefields. This was nothing. This was the first time Luli had seen the horror of the nightmare night in the immortal region. Even if there were 100,000,000 warriors here, once they were enveloped by the nightmare night, all of them would die, let alone more than 1,000,000. Back to the question that Luli had been thinking about before. Was this bleak night just a coincidence? Or was it caused by the most powerful warriors of the 3 native races? If it was the latter, then it would be horrifying. It was a mysterious rule in the immortal region that the nightmare night could be controlled. Nightmares would be affected in the interspatial artifact but not in the psychic realm. Luli felt he was in another world and was not affected at all. The nightmarish night was not over yet, so Luli didn't dare to go out. He waited inside. He was also thinking about how to break out of this situation. Go against the 3 native clans? Luli didn't have that kind of power yet. Even powerhouses who were infinitely close to the great perfection realm were not enough, let alone him. Therefore, it was basically impossible to count on him to break out of this situation on his own. He could only hope that the great battle would end and this great formation would automatically be undone, or wait for the great perfection stage powerhouses of young Master Duan's clan to arrive. At that time, the great formation would also be easily broken, and he would be able to escape. Time flew by and the night passed quickly. The moment the darkness disappeared, Lu Li came out at once. He moved quickly and put away the interspatial rings. There were over 1,000,000 warriors and thousands of Saint Kings. Most of the interspatial rings were not destroyed. Lu Li had made a fortune of the dead. Yang Kai's figure flickered quickly. He didn't care about the poisonous mist around him at all, and it only took him a stick of incense worth of time to collect all the space rings. I have made a fortune! After putting away the interspatial rings, Lu Li dashed into the Dharma field. He used psychic power to check. There were many celestial stones, materials and pellets in many interspatial rings. There were over 1,000,000 warriors here, and most of them were escorts. Since they could be escorts for the young masters and young ladies, they must be decent warriors. At the very least, they had a decent life. The interspatial rings wouldn't be too shabby either. There were some savings, more or less. Lu Li didn't pay too much attention after a few glances. If he could not get out, no amount of treasures would mean anything. He had to see how to get out first. He sent a message to Zishi, telling her to stay in the Dharma field. Then, Lu Li went out to have a look. He was surrounded by poisonous mist, but Lu Li was not afraid. Instead, he was excited. He used the Dharma field to absorb the poisonous mist nearby. He went into stealth mode and snuck into the depth. He wanted to find young Master Duan and the others. Now that the night had passed, young Master Duan and the others must have met up. By then, they would have to fight against the 3 native clans. Lu Li planned to watch the show and wait for a chance. As he had expected, dozens of miles later, Lu Li noticed that there was a fight up ahead. He sneaked over to have a look. He could tell that there were at least more than 1,000 warriors fighting. Many of them were close to the consummate realm. The fight was fierce. Lu Li didn't dare to get too close. He could only estimate the number and strength of the warriors from the battle. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he had an idea. On young Master Duan's side, there were about 70 or 80 warriors close to the consummate realm and more than 50 Saint Kings. On the other side there were more warriors. There were nearly 1,000 Saint Kings and 60 or 70 warriors close to the consummate realm. On the other side there were more warriors. There were about 1,000 Saint Kings and 60 or 70 warriors close to the consummate realm. Lu Li was not on young Master Duan's side. He hoped that young Master Duan's side could win and find a way out. At the very least, young Master Duan would not attack him. On the other hand, if the natives saw him, they would kill him. Retreat! An hour later, someone shouted. Then, warriors on young Master Duan's side began to retreat. After a round of attacks, the warriors on young Master Duan's side left. Lu Li followed them, but he was confused. This place was surrounded by the formation. Where could they go? What could they do, even if they retreated to the edge? The natives could still go after them. They couldn't just go around in circles in the wretched land. Soon, Lu Li knew where the warriors were going. After flying for thousands of miles, they entered a shield. There were more than a dozen warriors who were infinitely close to the consummate realm. They must have been building formations here, using this place as a base of defense. Whoosh! The more than 100 powerful warriors dashed into the shield. Lu Li didn't dare to go in, fearing that young Master Duan would think he was a spy. Lu Li sneaked to the side and went to the back of the formation. Then, he entered the realm of magic. One of the powerful warriors looked at Lu Li in surprise. He sensed something was wrong with the space. But by the time he tried to check, Lu Li had already entered the realm of magic. Whoosh! From the distance came some noises. The natives' powerful warriors were here. They were not in a hurry to attack. Instead, they waited in the distance. Half a day later, countless warriors swarmed in. They were in groups and there was no end to them. A cold voice came out as well. Outsiders, do you think you can stop us with this formation? Now that you are in the wretched land, you will all die. All of you. Master 3. Chapter 3362. There were at least hundreds of thousands of indigenous people. There were 3 races. One of them was giants with white fur all over their bodies. Even their faces were covered in white fur. The other race was like leopards. They looked funny with claws on their hands and feet. The third race was ugly and ferocious, like beasts in human form. The 3 races gathered outside the shield and began to attack. But they were only attacking average warriors. None of the most powerful warriors took any actions. The formation had not been built for a long time. Therefore, the energy was not enough. With so many warriors attacking, it would not take long for the shield to be cracked. Boom, 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 boom. Hundreds of thousands of warriors attacked at the same time. It was a spectacular scene. The glaring lights were as beautiful as fireworks. The shield seemed to be under pressure. It was shaking and the color was fading. It was slow, but people could tell that it was weakening. 3 days. Lu Li was secretly sensing. It was a mess, so he was not worried that some powerful warriors would notice. He sensed for a while and made a judgment. If there were no accidents, then the light shield would explode in 3 days. What could he do in 3 days? Could the warrior at the Duan family at the consummate level get here in 3 days? If they couldn't make it, then 3 days later would be the doomsday of this group of experts. Young Master Duan and the others were anxious as well. They could not defeat the enemies and the formation could not protect them. More importantly, they could not contact the outside world. They did not know if the outside world knew they were trapped. Time passed by. The shield was getting weaker. Young Master Duan and the others took out many materials to reinforce the formation. However, the hundreds of thousands of warriors were attacking continuously. The energy was being consumed fast. They had been discussing ways to solve the situation. However, in the face of absolute power, all their ideas were useless. The simplest reason was that they could not crack the formation in the entire land of misery. There were powerful warriors who had studied the formation here. There were so many powerful warriors. Some of them had profound knowledge of formation and runes. But none of them could crack the formation. Even if they could, it would take them a long time. The spirit arrays here were a combination of natural and man-made spirit arrays. Dozens of spirit arrays gathered together to form a super spirit array. To crack the formation, one must crack the runes. How difficult it was to crack dozens of formation together. Time passed quickly, and soon 3 days had passed. The light barrier was about to break. Young Master Duan and the others were all on high alert, waiting for the moment to break the array to fight to the death. More powerhouses that were infinitely close to the Paragon level had arrived from the 3 races, and the number of powerhouses had already surpassed this side. Therefore, they were all prepared to die this time. They made up their minds to kill as many as they could. Other than the young ladies who were a little terrified, the rest of the young masters were relatively calm, and their mental fortitude was not bad. I wonder if this formation will be undone after these experts are killed? Lu Li was nervous as well. If the formation in the land of disaster could not be cracked, then he would not be able to leave. He would have to rely on Blood Fairy to crack the formation, which would take hundreds of years. Would Lu Xiaobai still be in the Mystic Armor City after hundreds of years? What would happen to Imo Qianqian, Luan Shi Yuyang and the rest? Lu Li wasn't confident at all, so he hoped that he could leave this place as soon as possible. Boom! The light barrier of the magic array was finally broken. Young Master Duan and the others all had their morale boosted. They all took out their weapons and prepared to fight to the death. Boom, 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 boom. At this moment, a series of tremors suddenly came from the sky. It was like a thunderclap on a sunny day. Following that, black clouds suddenly condensed in the clear sky. Those black clouds were as thick as city walls. They gave off the feeling that they were mountains that could not be broken and could not be cut apart. A cold snort rang out. Then, a golden fist appeared in the sky. The fist seemed to have torn through the void, bringing with it an aura that could destroy the heavens and the earth as it struck towards the black cloud. At that moment, all the warriors, including Lu Li in the realm of Dharma, felt their hearts were in knots. None of the warriors could move. In their minds, the entire world had disappeared, and the only thing left was that huge golden fist. This was a miraculous scene. Lu Li was in the realm of Dharma at the moment. He did not use psychic power, but only the trace of Tao. That being said, the image of the golden fist appeared in his mind automatically. His soul trembled violently, as if he would be crushed by the gust of wind from the fist the next second. Absolute completion. Lu Li could not think of any other powerful warrior apart from a warrior at the absolute completion of the realm of Dharma, which was so intimidating and domineering. Boom! A shocking explosion came out. All the warriors' souls were trembling. Many warriors spat out blood, and their faces were drained of color. There were also countless warriors lying paralyzed on the ground. Their bodies were trembling in extreme fear. Even Lu Li spat out some blood. He was appalled as well. That punch just now was above the clouds. That attack was outside, but he was in another world, and he was also injured by the shock? This was incomprehensible. After all, Lu Li did not even use psychic power. How could that powerful warrior hit him? An idea came to Lu Li's mind. Eventually, he thought of a possibility: fist intent. It was just like sword intent. Absolute experts could carry sword intent in their sword move. Even if their sword moves didn't use divine power source power, a casual slash could still injure others with sword intent alone. It could even shatter the enemy's soul. Impressive! Lu Li was taken aback. After a moment, he used the mark of Tao to sense the outside again. It was a mess outside. The three native races had fled. Even their powerful warriors did not put up any resistance. All of them ran away. Ha ha ha! Young Master Duan laughed. Looking into the sky, he shouted, "Our forefather has cracked the formation. Come with me. Let's kill all the remnants of the three races." The more than 100 warriors here were boosted in morale as well. They were filled with confidence. There was a warrior at the absolute completion of the realm of Dharma, but none of the three races had a warrior at the absolute completion. They were not on the same level. So many soldiers had been killed this time, and they were almost killed as well. They had been suppressing their anger, and naturally wanted to vent it out. The more than 100 warriors went after them. The three races had lost their morale. They had to run for their lives. They had no more concerns. Soon, in the time for one incense stick to burn, the hundreds of thousands of warriors here were all gone. The formation is cracked? Lu Li was excited to hear this. How could a warrior at the absolute realm crack such a horrifying formation with one punch? Did that mean he could leave the land of misery now? Let's go. Lu Li didn't think too much. He dashed out and sneaked out at once. Then, he went into stealth mode and ran outside. So what if he was spotted by that warrior at the absolute realm? Would such a powerful warrior trouble a small fry like him? Standing in the void was a brown-haired old man with a strong build. But none of the warriors could sense this old man. As soon as Lu Li showed up, there was a glint of surprise in the old man's eyes. Seeing Lu Li dashing away like a rabbit, the old man murmured, "This human punk is good at hiding. I didn't see him?" Third Master. Chapter 3363. The brown-haired old man at the consummate stage of the Duan family thought about it for a while. He looked at another old man who was very close to the consummate stage, who was still fighting in the distance. The brown-haired old man moved his lips and said to the old man, "Duan and I, go after that human punk and bring him back to the city of Duan." To the Duan family, the brown-haired old man's words were like an imperial edict. After a moment of surprise, the old man turned around and ran away without any hesitation. The brown-haired old man waved his hand and sent a strand of chi into Duan Ni's body. The brown-haired old man said, "That punk's cloaking skills are amazing. This is his chi and energy. It will help you track him down. Don't kill him. Bring him back." "Yes, family patriarch." Duan and I nodded. He checked the chi and energy and then went to the west. As a matter of fact, the brown-haired old man could have killed Lu Li easily. But warriors at the consummate stage would not stoop to doing that. They had their pride. If this matter were to be spread out, it would damage their reputation. He was quite interested in a warrior that could sneak under his nose. He didn't necessarily want to kill Lu Li, but he was just curious. Oh no. Lu Li had left the land of disaster. The formation here was cracked. That warrior at the consummate stage blasted it open with one punch. Just as Lu Li was hundreds of thousands of miles away from the land of disaster, he sensed something was not right. He sensed danger, and he felt that the space behind him was fluctuating strangely. A powerful warrior is after me. An idea came to Lu Li's mind. Without any hesitation, he dashed into the realm of Dharma and used the mark of Tao to sense carefully. Whoosh! Not long afterward, a man came from behind, whooshing over. Lu Li sensed the fluctuation in space and stopped at once. Duan and I was fast. He flew past the area where Lu Li was but stopped after a few thousand miles. His eyebrows were knitted together. He used psychic power to the limit and murmured, "Cloaking skills are amazing. How come his presence is gone?" Duan and I came back. He wandered around and found the area where Lu Li disappeared to. He launched attacks and blasted an area with a radius of 30 miles into smithereens. Yet, he failed to force Lu Li out. Duan and I frowned. Lu Li could not have disappeared for no reason. His family patriarch gave Lu Li a strand of chi, which must be Lu Li's origin energy. Duan and I could find Lu Li by following the chi. However, the chi disappeared all of a sudden and Lu Li was nowhere to be found. His family patriarch said that Lu Li was just a minor warrior, a saint emperor at best. How could a saint emperor know such cloaking skills? Did he just teleport to travel and went? Is that why I cannot sense him? A thought flashed across Duan Ni's mind. Apart from this reason, he could not think of any other reason. If the aura was too far away, it would be impossible to sense it. Since the family patriarch had given the order, he must bring Lu Li back, even if it would take him years. Therefore, after a moment of consideration, he decided to fly into the distance. He wanted to go to a place with a radius of hundreds of millions of miles to see if he could sense Lu Li's presence. Is he gone? Lu Li waited for an hour before he checked carefully. All the mountains nearby had been blasted into pieces. He did not sense any powerful warrior's energy. He made up his mind and left. Then, he used skill of transfiguration to change his looks and stealth skill to fly to the south. This time, Lu Li only flew for 6 to 8 hours and covered a distance of tens of millions of miles. Lu Li sensed something again. He felt uncomfortable as if danger was approaching. Buzzing, without hesitation, Lu Li entered the Dharma realm. Soon, Duan and I caught up with Lu Li. When he was close enough, Duan and I noticed that Lu Li had disappeared again. Duan and I was shocked. Duan and I had followed Lu Li because he sensed Lu Li's energy. However, Lu Li disappeared again after a short distance. Duan and I was amazed by Lu Li's cloaking skills. This punk must have the ability to travel across the void. Duan and I searched the vicinity for a while, then expanded the range again and searched into the distance. Lu Li, on the other hand, was troubled. This powerful warrior had been on his trail, and he was quite good at tracking. Lu Li had used skill of transfiguration, and yet the warrior could still track him down. Is it that warrior at the consummate realm? Lu Li had this thought, but he shook his head. If it were that powerful warrior, Lu Li would not have been able to escape. He would have been captured or killed. Right, I should ask Zishi. Lu Li remembered the mysterious girl in the interspatial artifact. The girl had many unimaginable abilities, and she might be able to help him. Lu Li dashed into the interspatial artifact. Qianya Zishi was eating some fruits in boredom. Seeing Lu Li come in, Zishi ran over, grabbed Lu Li's arm and said, "Brother Lu, when can I go out? It is so boring here. We have left the land of disaster." Lu Li explained, "But you cannot go out yet. A powerful warrior close to the consummate realm is on my trail." Lu Li told her about the situation and then asked if Zishi had any ideas. Zishi thought about it and said, "There is a way. Brother Lu, if you can escape later, go and find some powerful immortal beast. Then, I will suppress the immortal beast. When that powerful warrior comes, we will run away immediately." Sure. Lu Li thought about it and agreed that it was a good idea. He had the teleportation skill. When he released the skill, he could be as fast as a warrior close to the consummate realm, or even faster. Using immortal beasts would be a good way to escape. Lu Li waited quietly. This time, it took him half a day to come out. Then, he flew to the southwest at the top of his speed. Along the way, he searched for mountains and swamps. There were many ferocious beasts and immortal beasts, but none as powerful as what Lu Li hoped to see. Here they are again. Lu Li sensed danger. He used psychic power to the limit. If he could not find them in the time for 10 breaths, then he would have to enter the Dharma realm. There is one. Lu Li suddenly sensed something. He sensed a powerful qi and energy in a huge abyss in front of him. The qi and energy were horrifying. It must be an extremely powerful immortal beast. Swish! He made up his mind and rushed into the abyss. His interspatial artifact glowed and Zishi came out. He asked, "There is a powerful immortal beast in front of us. Are you sure you can suppress it? Otherwise we will all die." Zishi closed her eyes and sensed for a while. She nodded with certainty and said, "No problem." Swish! Lu Li rushed into the abyss. A huge monster opened its eyes in the abyss. Its qi and energy spread out like a sea of blood. But before it could move, Zishi made her move. She released green energy all over her body. The huge beast quieted down and crawled in the abyss. The powerful qi and energy disappeared, and it was still trembling. What kind of existence is the Qianya clan? Lu Li was shocked. This immortal beast should be as powerful as a warrior close to the consummate realm, but it was suppressed so easily. It was still trembling. This strange skill of the Qianya clan was too horrifying. Chapter 3364. Whoosh! Soon, Duan and I arrived near the abyss. He was so fast that he didn't even try to sense it carefully. He just followed the qi and energy. When he rushed into the abyss and found the huge immortal beast with psychic power, his expressions changed. Lu Li and Zishi were standing next to the beast. Lu Li looked up at Duan and I and smiled. Then a white glare came out from his body. He shot into the sky in a blur. He was even faster than Duan and I. "You want to run?" Duan and I pulled a long face. He was about to make a move when he heard a roar that shook heaven and earth. Without Zishi's suppression, the immortal beast naturally began to go berserk. Clearly, this beast was not intelligent. It was enraged that Duan and I and Luli had intruded into its territory. It didn't dare to do anything to Zishi and Luli, so it had to vent its anger on Duan and I. The gigantic beast roared and spat out an orange flame, which enveloped Duan and I. If Duan and I did not defend himself, he would be burnt immediately. He threw a resentful look at where Luli disappeared to and began to fight against the beast. The swift skill was freakish, especially when Luli's current speed was very fast. He took a detour and flew towards the southeast. He had no scruples now. He flew in midair. He would be an idiot if he didn't speed up when the swift skill was so fast. Also, that immortal beast could buy him some time. As long as he could get to the eastern region, he would be much safer. The swift skill could last for an hour. Even though it was only for a short time, Luli could cover hundreds of millions of miles with his current speed. He ran into many warriors along the way. But Luli was fast. Even though his chi and energy were not strong, no warrior dared to provoke him. An hour later, Luli had traveled a distance of 1 or 2 days. He would arrive at the Cloud King City in another 1 or 2 days. He would be safe at the Cloud King City. Would that powerful warrior dare to come to the Cloud King City to attack him? Luli slowed down. He had to because the after-effects of the swift skill had come. He was weak and his face was pale. Not only his body, but his soul was also weak. Normally, Luli should go to the magic realm to rest. But he forced himself to hold on. He entered into a state of concealment, refining the divine medicines and pills along the way. This was the most difficult situation for Luli. He was weak to begin with, but he had to force himself to fly and check the surroundings. It was torture for Luli. Later on, Luli could not stand it anymore. He had to let Zishi out and let her explore. Luli himself closed his eyes and rested. He flew blindly under Zishi's command. After a couple of hours, Luli had recovered a bit. They had been flying for so long, but the expert behind them still hadn't caught up? Luli wondered if that powerful warrior had been killed by that immortal beast. Or was he heavily injured? Brother Lu, there's an expert chasing after us. After flying for another 2 hours, Zishi suddenly screamed. Luli didn't dare to act rashly. He put Zishi into his interspatial ring and then entered the magic realm. Sure enough, it didn't take long for Duan and I to fly over. His aura wasn't as strong as before. It seemed like his vitality had been injured. When he noticed that Luli was nowhere to be found, he bellowed in rage. Then, he launched his attacks and smashed the mountains nearby. After a round of bombardment, Duan and I was a little confused. He began to doubt himself. Could he catch up with Luli? He saw Luli in the abyss. Luli was just a warrior of the Emperor Realm. How could a warrior of the Emperor Realm be faster than him? He realized that Luli must have used some kind of secret skill to increase his speed for a short time. That being said, it was freaky that a warrior of the Emperor Realm could reach such a speed. Also, Luli's mysterious disappearance ability. Therefore, Duan and I began to doubt himself. Could he catch up with Luli? Could he catch him? If it were any other situation, he would have given up. However, this was an order from the Duan family patriarch. He couldn't just go back with his tail between his legs. If he did, the family patriarch would look down on him. By then, his status in the tribe would be degraded. Let's go after him for a bit longer. Let's go to the eastern region. Duan and I made up his mind. If Luli escaped to the eastern region, then there would be nothing he could do. The eastern region was too dangerous. Also, their tribe was a well-known one. Rashly entering the eastern region might cause a misunderstanding with the forces there. Duan and I began to search nearby. He wandered around for several days but found no trace of Luli. Duan and I had to expand his search range. Luli had rested in the realm of magic for half a month. His body had recovered. He thought it was about time. He activated the trace of the Great Path to check. Making sure that the powerful warrior was not there, Luli rushed out and flew toward the Cloud King city. He didn't bother to go into stealth mode or use skill of transfiguration. He flew at the top of his speed. He knew that the powerful warrior would catch up with him. His only hope now was to arrive at the Cloud King city before the powerful warrior caught up. Luli knew that the Cloud King city was the territory of a superforce. That force was probably not an ally of the Duan family, because the force was much more powerful than the Duan family. It was the most powerful force at the eastern side of the southern region. Back when the eastern region and the southern region were at war, this force resisted the eastern region's army for a month. As long as Luli could arrive at the Cloud King city, that powerful warrior wouldn't dare to do anything rash. Using force in the city would be a provocation to this force. Not even a powerful warrior that was infinitely close to the consummate realm would have the guts to provoke this force. Under normal circumstances, Luli wouldn't fly in such a high-profile manner. If he ran into an old warrior, he might be smashed to death directly. But now Luli couldn't worry about that. He had to get away first. Maybe it was because he was close to the Cloud King city. There were no old warriors here, but there were many immortal beasts and ferocious beasts. Duan and I caught up with Luli after more than a day. Luli was in a dilemma. The Cloud King city should be close. If he used Swift, he should be able to arrive at the Cloud King city in less than an hour. Let's do it. Luli didn't want to go back to the realm of magic. There was a drawback in the realm of magic. He would have to go in and out of the same place. If Duan and I were to wait where he was, how could Luli survive? He would have to stay in the realm of magic. Luli used Swift again and sped up. Duan and I caught up with him. He could sense Luli with psychic power. However, Luli was faster than him. Duan and I could only watch as Luli disappeared in front of him. Cloud King City? He is going to the Cloud King City? Duan and I was worried. If Luli went to the Cloud King city, then it would be troublesome. Luli was right. The Duan family was not on good terms with the overlord of the Cloud King city. After all, the two families were neighbors. How could they be on good terms? Duan and I went after Luli. As he expected, Luli was flying toward the Cloud King city in a straight line. An hour later, Duan and I saw the Cloud King city. He saw Luli rushing to the city gate, handing over the celestial stones and entering the city. Duan and I was stunned for a moment. Then he flew into the city with a gloomy face. As long as Luli didn't go to the eastern region, then there was still a chance. Chapter 3365. The Cloud King city was large, much larger than the East Spirit city. The city walls were tall and sturdy. On top of the walls stood many warriors that looked like javelins. It was an awe-inspiring sight. Luli had to pay 10 million celestial stones to get in. It was a testament to the high standard of the city. Even with such a high entrance fee, it was still crowded. Luli took a look and found there were at least 10 million warriors in the city. Not every warrior could come in. Usually, they were at the Emperor Realm or Saint King Realm. The number of people who passed 6 trials was pitifully low. The patrolling warriors in the city were all Saint King Realm warriors. Granted, there were only 10 warriors in a team, but it was a bit extravagant for the regular army to use Saint King Realm warriors. When he entered the city, the warriors outside the city told Luli that no fighting was allowed in the city. Otherwise, all warriors would die without exception. Luli was not panicked. Instead, he was overjoyed. At least he was safe in the Cloud King city. If the powerful warrior chasing after him dared to do anything, he would die as well. Luli didn't dare to be careless after he came in. He went to a tavern at once and asked the waiter for information. He was relieved to make sure that the Cloud King city's ruler was not on good terms with the Duan family. He planned to stay in the city for a while and find out the situation at the East region. By the time they reached Cloud King City, they were only halfway there. The latter half of the journey would be more difficult. Therefore, if he rashly went into the East region without any information, it would be miserable. He had made a fortune from the dead at the wretched land and had a huge amount of wealth. It would be safer if there were merchant ships. He wouldn't mind even if he had to pay billions of celestial stones. When he was dead, all his worldly possessions would belong to others. That powerful warrior is in the city, Zishi said after they sat in the tavern for a while. The Qianye race's senses were even better than Lu Li's. Zishi could sense Duan Ni's qi and energy. Lu Li nodded and said, "Keep sensing and see if he is near." Zishi closed her eyes. After a while she said, "He is nearby, not too far away. He has entered a tavern." "Okay." Lu Li nodded. If Duan and I didn't dare to come to the tavern directly, then he wouldn't do anything in the city. At least, he was safe in the city. He was not in a hurry, so he rested in the inn and let Zishi protect him. He decided to take a good rest and recover to his peak state first. The after effects of the swift art were very strong. Duan and I could sense Lu Li's qi and energy. She could easily locate where Lu Li was. But he didn't dare to act recklessly. He was confident that he could kill Lu Li in an instant. That being said, he knew that once he did so, he would die for sure. Not even his family patriarch could save him. The fact that Lu Li was in a coma was proof that he had used some secret skill to be so fast. He checked carefully and was sure that Lu Li was at the Emperor realm. He was even more surprised. At this moment, he finally understood why his family patriarch asked him to bring Lu Li back. There were too many strange things about Lu Li. He must have several powerful skills. If they could acquire those skills, it would be of great benefit to the Duan family. "I have to think of something." Duan and I thought about it. After a while, he walked out of the tavern and went to a castle in the city. There were guards outside the castle. Duan and I took out a token and said, "Please tell them that Duan and I is here to see Patriarch Yunzhongtian." No warrior in the city could use force. The only ones that could were warriors of the Yun family. Therefore, Duan and I had to rely on warriors of the Yun family. The relationship between the Yun family and the Duan family was not good. That being said, Lu Li was just an insignificant warrior. Duan and I believed the patriarch of the Yun family would do him a favor. Lu Li was not familiar with Yun Zhongtian, but he had met him several times. Duan and I was a powerful warrior close to the consummate realm and a patriarch of the Duan family. As soon as he handed over his token, a saint king came out and politely invited him in. Patriarch Yun Zhongtian summoned Duan and I in the main hall. Even though they were both patriarchs and warriors close to the consummate realm, Yun Zhongtian's attitude was higher than Duan Ni's, which could be seen from the fact that Yun Zhongtian didn't greet Duan and I in person. The Yun family was more powerful than the Duan family because the Yun family had 2 warriors at the consummate realm and many warriors close to the consummate realm. Duan and I hated Yun Zhongtian's arrogance, but he didn't show it. After all, he was here to ask for help and he couldn't be too arrogant. Duan and I expressed his admiration for Yun Zhongtian. He said that he was just passing by and came to pay a visit. He even gave Yun Zhongtian a gift. Yun Zhongtian didn't accept the gift. He just picked up the interspatial ring and glanced at it. Then, he put it on the table and pushed it over. "Brother Duan and I, this gift is too valuable. I don't deserve it. I don't dare to accept it." "Ha ha ha." Duan and I laughed and said, "As a matter of fact, I am here to ask for a small favor from you, Brother Zhongtian. If I can help you, I will be rewarded. If this can be done, I will owe you a favor. If there is anything I can do for you, I will do my best." Yun Zhongtian frowned. The gift was valuable, but it was nothing. A favor from Duan and I was worth much more. After all, the Duan family was a big family. A powerful warrior like Duan and I would keep his word. Luli asked, "What is it?" "If I can help, I will not refuse." "Capture a warrior for me." Duan and I went straight to the point. "This warrior has entered the Cloud King city. He is a great Emperor Realm warrior. I cannot do anything in the city, so I can only count on you, Brother Zhongtian. If you can capture him secretly and send him out of the city, I will be grateful." An insignificant warrior and a patriarch of the Yun family were worlds apart. With Yun Zhongtian's help, he could capture Luli easily, and then he could go back and explain to the family patriarch. Yun Zhongtian remained expressionless. He lowered his eyebrows in silence. After a while, he shook his head and said, "I am sorry, Brother Duan and I. My family patriarch is very strict in this regard. The iron law cannot be broken. If I dare to act recklessly, I will be found out soon. By then, my position as a patriarch will be taken away. You should know my family patriarch's character." Duan and I pulled a long face. He had heard of the Yun family patriarch's character. He was cold-blooded and heartless, both to the outside and to the inside. The system of the Yun family was perfect. As long as one had the ability, he could stand out. As long as one had the talent, he could get resources. Over the years, the Yun family had produced many geniuses. The Yun family had been growing stronger, which had a lot to do with the family patriarch. That being said, where there was light, there was also darkness. Duan and I did not believe that the patriarchs of the Yun family were so fair and impartial. He must have not offered enough. Loyalty was because the price of betrayal was not high enough. Duan and I agreed with this statement. After a while, he took out another interspatial ring, handed it over and said, "Patriarch Zhongtian, this is an amber crystal I got by chance. There is an ancient wonder in it. I have never been able to see through it. Can you help me identify it?" "Amber crystal? Ancient wonder?" Yun Zhongtian paused for a moment. Then, he picked up the interspatial ring and checked it with psychic power. After a while, he was moved. His eyes glowed. After a moment of silence, he said, "I cannot see through it either. Maybe. I need some time to study it." Chapter 3366. "Then I will have to trouble you, Brother Zhongtian, to help me." Duan and I cursed inside but said politely, "Brother Zhongtian, if you find anything, you must tell me when you go to my race next time." "Right about that guy at the Emperor Realm?" "Yun Zhongtian shouted. A Saint King came in. Yun Zhongtian pointed to Duan and I and said, "Go with this lord. Be discreet. If anything goes wrong, you will be responsible." "Understood." The Saint Emperor outside nodded, and Duan and I immediately left with a smile on her face. He didn't do much other than tell the Saint King where Luli was and then went back to the tavern. That Saint King left quietly. He didn't show up in person. Instead, he went to make arrangement. Luli was still asleep. He had no idea that a plot had begun against him. 2 days later, Luli woke up. He went out to gather some information. He took Zishi with him. Duan and I was in the city and Luli was worried about her. But Zishi put on a cloak. After all, she was too pretty. He was afraid that she might be able to tell that she was from the Qianya race. As soon as he walked to the door of the tavern, a man rushed in, reeking of alcohol. Luli reacted quickly. He took Zishi's hand and moved to the side to avoid the drunkard. Unexpectedly, the drunkard tilted his body and bumped into Luli. He even stepped on Zishi's foot. His face reeked of alcohol, which made Luli frown. Zishi cried out in pain as well. Luli stared at the warrior in dissatisfaction. The ring on his hand glowed. He secretly took out a memory crystal and recorded this scene. Duan and I was nearby. Luli had to be careful. What if this was a plot? What are you looking at? Courting death. That drunkard was a saint king. He must have had a lot to drink. He stared at Luli and said, Bastard, if you keep looking, I will dig your eyes out. I am sorry, my lord. Luli said politely, My lord, it is our fault. Please be magnanimous and forgive us. The drunkard was taken aback. Then he said angrily, You think you can forgive us just because you say so? Who do you think you are? Kneel. I knew it. Luli's heart sank. He knew there was something wrong with this drunkard. He was clearly looking for trouble. They were not allowed to use force in the city. Once they did, both parties would be taken down. Once he was captured, Luli's life would be in someone else's hands. Duan and I bribed someone in power in the Yun family. An idea flashed across Luli's mind. At the same time, he began to analyze how to get out of this situation. He absolutely could not be caught, otherwise, he would definitely be imprisoned, then secretly sent out of the city, and finally fall into the hands of Duan and I. Enter the law realm? There were so many experts in the city. At this moment, the commotion here had already attracted the attention of some martial artists. Maybe there were experts observing in the dark. Luli thought about it and flew out of the window. Standing on the street, he said with a smile, Lord, we are in the city. Don't do anything rash. Otherwise, you'll be arrested by the city guards. You've drunk too much, you should go back and rest. Luli's voice was loud. He did it on purpose. There were many warriors on the street and there were taverns nearby. He deliberately put on the image of a weakling so that the martial artists in the city could testify for him. The Duan family and the Yun family were not on good terms. Therefore, Luli believed that the powerful warrior of the Duan family would not be able to bribe someone in power in the Yun family. At best, he could bribe an average patriarch. Average patriarchs could not do anything in the Cloud King city. Therefore, Luli wanted to make a scene so that the patriarch wouldn't dare to do anything rash. The drunkard was hesitating. This was not what he had in mind. Normally, Luli and he would make a scene inside and then the city guards would come. Then, both parties would be arrested and the drunkard would have nothing to do with it. But now, Luli was shouting outside. So many warriors were watching and Luli looked innocent. How could the drunkard go on? The drunkard thought about it. The one standing behind him was a commander of the city guards. What did it mean? It meant that this puny warrior of the Emperor realm had offended the Yun family. What else did the drunkard have to worry about? The Yun family would be on his side no matter what. At that moment, the drunkard didn't think too much. He dashed out quickly and kicked Luli in the chest. Luli could have dodged, but there were so many warriors around and he was a warrior of the Emperor realm. If he dodged quickly, he would arouse suspicion. Therefore, the drunkard was kicked away. He rolled on the ground and said with grievance, Lord, how can you hit me? Father. Zishi ran over. Her cloak fell off, revealing her delicate face. She said with grievance, Father, how are you? Lord, please don't hit my father. Please. Zishi's pitiful look was pitiful. Many warriors nearby looked over and used psychic power. Many warriors came out from the balconies of the taverns. There must be more than 1,000 warriors paying attention. Whoosh! From the distance came a team of warriors. They were 10 saint kings in silver armors. 10 saint emperors surrounded Luli and the drunkard. One of them shouted coldly, How dare you? How dare you fight in the city? Take them down and bring them back. Ha ha! Luli sneered to himself. It was just as he had thought. He stood up and said, Wait, lords. We are not fighting. I am the one being beaten. I did not use any force. All the warriors here can be my witness. Zishi nodded and said, Yes, it is this bad guy who beat my father. My father did not do anything. Please don't take my father. The escorts were stunned as well. They had received orders to bring both parties to the mayor's mansion if someone in the city started to fight later. They knew there must be something shady going on. But it didn't seem to be going according to the script. As a matter of fact, they were watching nearby. Luli did not use any force. "Let's talk at the mayor's mansion," a Saint King said coldly. "The mayor's mansion will uphold justice. If you are innocent, we will not make things difficult for you. Take him away." "No," Luli said stubbornly, "I will not go with you. I suspect that you are in cahoot. I suspect that you are trying to set me up. I have never done anything. So many warriors here can be my witness. Why do you want to take me? What right do you have to take me? Which rule of the city have I violated? This is the Cloud King City, a city with the strictest laws. How dare you use such despicable means? You want me to go to the mayor's mansion? Sure, but I want to see your patriarch of law enforcement or I will not accept it." Lu Li's voice was getting louder as if he was filled with grief and indignation. His words could be heard on more than a dozen streets nearby. At least tens of thousands of warriors could hear him. "How dare you!" A Saint King escort flew into a rage. He grabbed Lu Li's neck and shouted, "How dare you challenge the law enforcement team in public? Believe it or not, I will kill you right now." "Fine, I will go with you to the mayor's mansion." Lu Li had achieved his goal. He said calmly, "I only hope that the Cloud King City is as fair and just as it is said to be. Otherwise, I will not accept it." P.S. 4 chapters added. Chapter 3367. The Yun King City had always been known for its strict laws. Warriors of the Yun family were known to be fair and just. They would neither bully the weak nor fear powerful enemies. The Yun family was well known at the southern region. What Lu Li did seemed to be simple, but it was full of meaning. First of all, he didn't do anything. He recorded everything with a memory crystal. Secondly, many warriors nearby saw it and they could testify. Thirdly, his roar was very loud and attracted the attention of countless warriors. It might even attract the attention of powerhouses. Lastly, and most importantly, he emphasized that the warriors might be colluding with the drunkard. He suspected there was a conspiracy. He was taking precautions to arouse the suspicion of warriors nearby. Also, he had to see the law enforcement patriarch and show that he was not afraid of death. Under such circumstances, unless the law enforcement patriarch of the Yun family was bought off, Lu Li wouldn't be convicted. If the law enforcement patriarch of the Yun family could be bought off, then the laws of the Yun family would have been broken and the Yun family would have had a scandal. If Lu Li cooperated, then the warrior couldn't kill Lu Li. They had to bring Lu Li and the drunkard back. Many warriors were interested in this matter. Some warriors had nothing else to do, so they went to the mansion of the Yun King City to see how things would develop. The law enforcement hall would deal with the disputes in the city. But normally, the hall would be guarded by several commanders in turns. The law enforcement patriarch wouldn't come out unless something serious happened. The leader on duty today happened to be Yun He, the one Yun Zhongtian arranged. He sat in the main hall with dignity. When Lu Li and the drunkard came in, Yun He glared at them coldly and shouted, "Kneel!" A show of strength. Lu Li looked at the commander but didn't kneel. Was the drunkard sober now? He knelt down in fear. Yun He was happy to see that Lu Li didn't kneel. But he pretended to be cold. He shouted, "Are you deaf? How dare you challenge my authority in public? Do you believe that I will kill you right here? I am not guilty." Lu Li seemed to be full of pride. He stood up straight and said coldly, "I have been abiding by the law in the city. I have paid so many celestial stones to enter the city. I think the Cloud King City should be protected, not bullied. I didn't break the Iron Law, so I'm not a criminal. Since I'm not a criminal, why should I kneel? Zishi was also brought in. Her eyes were filled with tears and she said pitifully, "The bad guys beat my father, and you are helping the bad guys to bully my father. You are also bad guys." The door of this hall faced the outside. At this moment, there were hundreds of martial artists surrounding it. Many of them had their divine wills sweeping over. When they saw this scene, many martial artists resonated with it. They had paid the entrance fee to enter the city. They were here to be protected, not to be bullied. Lu Li's words were so sharp that Yun-hee didn't know how to react. There were so many warriors outside and so many psychic powers. What if some big shots were here? Yun-hee was silent for a moment and shouted coldly, "Whether you're guilty or not, it's not up to you to say. This seat has his own judgment. Tell me, why are you fighting in the city?" The drunkard kowtowed on the ground and said, "My lord, this lowly one is guilty. When I entered the inn today, I bumped into this brat. He pushed me and insulted this lowly one, so this lowly one got angry and kicked him. He was the one who made the first move." "How dare you?" Yun-hee shouted angrily. He glanced over to Lu Li and said, "Our warriors told you when you entered the city. Violence is not allowed in the city. You two are too bold. No matter what the reason is, you are guilty of a serious crime." "Wait." Lu Li cupped his fists in front of his chest and interrupted Yun-hee. He said, "My lord, is this how you judge a case? Just one side of the story? Why don't you call some witnesses? How can you convince people like this?" "What witnesses do you need?" Yun-hee shouted coldly. "At that time, there was a group of soldiers patrolling near you, and they clearly investigated what happened to you. They have just reported it to me secretly. If they are not witnesses, then what are they? There is no point in quibbling." "Ha ha ha!" Lu Li laughed out loud. His laughter was filled with grief and indignation. He said, "Where are the witnesses? I want to confront them on the spot." Yun-hee wanted to lose his temper on the spot and kill Lu Li right away. However, there were so many warriors outside. If he were to act recklessly, then he might be investigated by the higher-ups. By then, he might be sentenced to death or at least severely. Yun Zhongtian had said that he would take responsibility if anything went wrong. "Bring in the witnesses." Yun-hee waved his hand. Several warriors came in. They were the ones that caught Lu Li. Lu Li looked at them and said, "Did you see me do it with your own eyes? This drunkard is saying that I made the first move? Are you sure about this? Do you know the consequences of perjury in the Yun family?" Lu Li was a criminal, but at this moment, he felt a little aggressive, like he was a judge. The few saint emperors looked at each other. Finally, one of them gritted his teeth and said, "I was nearby at that time. When you were fighting, I used my divine perception to look over. I did see you push him. Why are you still trying to deny it?" Lu Li put on a cold smile. He was like a cunning fox that had succeeded in its scheme. Lu Li said in a low voice, "My lord, are you sure?" That saint emperor felt creeped out by Lu Li's stare. But what else could he say at this point? He made up his mind and said, "Of course." Buzzing, Lu Li took out the memory crystal that he had been hiding in his sleeve and poured his source energy into it. Then, a picture appeared in midair. It was a recording of everything that had happened since the drunkard came in. The picture was clear and it recorded everything that had happened. Swish, swish, swish. When Lu Li took out the memory crystal, the Saint Emperor's face was drained of all color. There was an uproar as if someone was going to explode. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Many warriors began to gather here. Many of them were just checking with psychic power. Now they could not sit still and they all came over. Something big had happened. Warriors of the Yun King City were committing perjury. How could something like this happen at the Yun King City that was known to have the strictest laws? How could the Yun family that was known to be impartial and fair have such a dirty and shameless side? Naturally, this caused quite a stir. The situation seemed to be getting out of hand. More and more warriors were gathering here. Not only the warriors, but even Yun He's back was drenched in cold sweat. Lu Li put away the memory crystal after it finished playing. Looking at Yun He, he said, "When the conflict happened, there were at least more than a dozen warriors in that tavern. My lord, why didn't you ask them to testify? Why did you ask your men to commit perjury instead? Have you been hoodwinked? Or was it you who inspired it? The Yun family of the Yun King City, a family with a history of more than 10,000 years, a famous family in the entire immortal region. Why would you frame me, an insignificant warrior of the Emperor realm? Please give me an answer." Lu Li suddenly used Dragon Roar in the last few words. His voice resounded through the clouds and covered more than half of the Yun King City. It was like a thunderbolt from the clear sky, causing Yun He to almost jump up from the shock. That soldier who gave the false testimony earlier was so frightened that he fell on his buttocks. Chapter 3368. Almost all martial artists knew a divine ability like the Dragon Roar divine skill. They just needed to circulate their source energy to amplify their voice. But in a super city like the Cloud King City, few warriors dared to shout like this. If the higher-ups of the Yun family were enraged, they would be slapped to death. It had been a long time since a warrior dared to shout in the Cloud King City. Lu Li's shout was like a clap of thunder that woke up many warriors and powerful warriors in the city. In an instant, at least 100,000 psychic powers scanned over, and many of them were very powerful. After Yun He sensed a few dozen vaguely familiar spiritual senses, his face immediately became as pale as snow, and his body began to tremble slightly. Buzzing! The space in the hall trembled as a white-haired old man came out. As soon as he showed up, several warriors in the hall dropped to one knee and saluted. "Greetings, Patriarch of Law Enforcement." Yun He stood up, forced himself to calm down and knelt to salute. The white-haired old man paid no attention to Yun He and the warriors. Looking at Lu Li, he said, "The Yun family is a family with a history of more than 10,000 years. We have a great reputation, and we are well known in the entire immortal region for our strict rules. The Yun family will not set you up, and they will not stoop to doing so. Some scum of the Yun family cannot represent the Yun family." Lu Li calmed down after seeing the old man. He bowed and said, "Greetings, Lord. Just now I was angry, so I acted recklessly. I have offended you and the Yun family. I am willing to accept any punishment." Smart. Many warriors outside gave him a thumbs up. Lu Li's performance was perfect. He didn't mention anything about being set up. Instead, he admitted his mistake. He didn't want to give the Yun family any chance to make trouble for him. As a family with a history of more than 10,000 years, it was necessary for them to be tolerant. If they vented their anger on a warrior of the Emperor realm because of their own family, then the Yun family would be laughed at by the world. Patriarch of Law Enforcement waved his hand and said, "Please wait a moment. I will deal with this on the spot, and I will give you a satisfactory answer." The law enforcement elder walked to the main seat and locked his gaze on the martial artist who gave false testimony. He glanced at him and said, "Speak, who ordered you to do this?" The soldier had just stood up when he knelt down again. His eyes flickered and his lips moved slightly. Finally, he lowered his head and said, "Elder, I am guilty. This matter is my own doing." "Xiao!" The law enforcement elder moved his hand and a sword light swept out. The Saint Emperor's head was directly cut off and blood spurted 3 meters into the air. Wow! An uproar immediately broke out outside. Was this law enforcement elder really that tyrannical? Killing without even a trial. However, When he thought about the internal affairs of the Yun family, the enforcement elder did indeed have the authority to kill him if he wanted to. The enforcement elder stared coldly at the remaining soldiers and said, "All of you are guilty of the death penalty. However, if you speak up, I won't pursue the matter of your lineage." Thump! The rest of the soldiers all knelt down. One of the soldiers smiled bitterly at Yun He and said, "Disciplinary elder, this was what Commander Yun He wanted us to do. We were only following orders. Please forgive us, elder." Thump! Yun He knelt down. His lips were filled with bitterness. It was supposed to be a small matter. How could it turn out like this? He knew he could not live. Since the law enforcement elder had started the killing, then he would not be able to escape death. Many thoughts flashed through his mind. Soon, he bowed and said, "Patriarch, I am willing to admit my mistake." The law enforcement elder showed no emotion. He said calmly, "Tell me, why did you frame him? What is the reason? Tell me the whole story." Yun He's eyes flickered. In the end, he looked at Zi Shi, who was next to Lu Li, and said, "I have a special fetish. I like this girl." What? It was boiling outside. One of the leaders of the Yun family was interested in a girl of 4 or 5 years old. How could he frame Lu Li? He wanted to capture Lu Li and Zi Shi and take Zi Shi for himself? Even though it was a scandal, it was not a big deal. Pretty girls were trouble in and of themselves. Pretty girls could attract the covetous eyes of powerful warriors everywhere. Then, they would be snatched away or it could lead to fights. It was not unusual. Ha ha! Lu Li sneered to himself. The reason seemed reasonable, but Lu Li knew it was not true. What was more, Yun He didn't look like a lecherous warrior. He didn't even look at Zi Shi, and when he did, he was calm. When Lu Li was about to say something, law enforcement elder shouted coldly, "Yun He, are you going to come to your senses? How dare you lie in front of me? In order to cover up the truth, you are trying to smear yourself with dirty water? So, it must be a patriarch who instigated this. Tell me, or else your family will have a hard time in the future." And not only was Yun He stunned, but many warriors outside were as well. Originally, Yun He had confessed and even splashed dirty water on himself. The explanation he gave was also very reasonable. This matter should more or less come to an end, right? But this law enforcement elder wanted to dig deeper. He even made it clear that it was a patriarch who instigated this. Was he trying to kill a patriarch of the Yun family? Was it worth it to give Lu Li an explanation? Who was Lu Li? He was just a warrior of the Emperor realm. How could a patriarch of the Yun family be involved in such a small matter? Many warriors looked at Lu Li, wondering what was so special about this warrior of the Emperor realm. Was he worth a patriarch's order to murder him? Patriarchs of the Yun family were all powerful warriors that were close to the consummate realm. The bitterness at the corner of Yun He's mouth became more and more intense. The law enforcement elder was impartial and impartial. He would keep his word. If he didn't reveal the mastermind behind the scenes, his bloodline would probably not have a good time. Seeing that Yun He didn't say anything, law enforcement elder shouted, "Yun He, don't make me search your soul." Alas, Yun He sighed. He lowered his head and said, "It is Patriarch Zhongtian. A patriarch of the Duan family is here. I asked him to take down this warrior." Whoosh! As soon as Yun He said this, Duan and I in a tavern dashed toward the city gate like a ghost. At that moment, a glare came out from the city. Then a shield appeared and the city was sealed. Law enforcement patriarch stood up, scanned with psychic power, and said to Duan and I, "Patriarch Duan, now that you are here, come and see me. Also, Zhongtian, come as well." The entire city was in an uproar. Originally, it was just a small matter that couldn't be any more small. Now, it had developed into such a situation. An elder of the Duan family and an elder of the Yun family were both involved. More importantly, judging by law enforcement patriarch's attitude, he wouldn't let it go so easily. It was possible that the patriarch of the Duan family and Yun Zhongtian would be punished. It was worth watching the show today. A family with a history of 10,000 years is impressive. Luli was convinced. This was the magnanimity of a big family. This was the broad-mindedness of a big family. There was a reason why the Yun family could be so famous. A family that could be so cruel to themselves would be even more cruel to outsiders. In the chaotic world of the immortal region, only cruelty could stand firm. Otherwise, the family would have been gnawed away by others. Chapter 3369. Duan and I wanted to rush to the city gate, but after hearing what the Patriarch of Law Enforcement said, he had a complicated look on his face. The shield had been activated, and it was impossible for him to rush out. Besides, there were many powerful divine senses locked onto him. If he dared to do anything, he would be killed instantly. He tidied up his clothes and walked to the governor's residence. Although something had happened, he was the patriarch of the Duan family, and the iron law of the Yun family could not stop him. After all, he did not use force in the city. Yun Zhongtian was panicking in his heart, but he didn't show it on the surface. Yun Zhongtian muttered to himself for several breaths of time before leaving. But he did not go to the governor's residence. Instead, he went to the north of the city. With his speed, he arrived at a manor in a few seconds. Plop! He dropped to his knees and said in shame, "Patriarch, I am here to ask for forgiveness." Yun Zhongtian was smart. If he went to the governor's residence, it would be official business. No one could predict what would happen in front of all the warriors in the city. Therefore, he came here to ask for the patriarch's forgiveness. This was a family matter. There was a difference between family and official business. If he did it behind closed doors, it would not be so embarrassing and the sentence would be lighter. Creak, the door of the manor opened and a boy came out. Although he was just a boy, Yun Zhongtian did not dare to look down on him. This was the descendant of the patriarch, the favorite descendant of the patriarch. The boy had been with him ever since he was born and was taught by the patriarch himself. The boy walked out and looked at Yun Zhongtian coldly. "The patriarch has ordered that you should not be here. Go to the governor's residence." Swish, 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 Yun Zhongtian's complexion turned pale. The family king's attitude was very clear. This time, he had bumped into an iron plate. The family king's attitude would cause the law enforcement elder to give him a harsher sentence. But since the patriarch had said it, it was meaningless for him to say anything more. He could only sneak back to the governor's residence. When he entered the governor's residence, he found that Duan and I was already inside. He was the patriarch of the Yun family, but the patriarch of law enforcement was only below the patriarch and the chief patriarch. He bowed respectfully and waited on the side. The law enforcement elder glanced at Duan and I and Yun Zhongtian and said, "Do the two of you have anything to say?" Yun he accused Elder Duan and I of bribing Elder Yun Zhongtian to frame this young friend. "Is this true?" Yun Zhongtian straightforwardly nodded and said, "That's right, that's the truth. Duan and I gave me some treasures and asked me to help capture this person and send him out of the city. This matter was a moment of greed on my part and I did not guard my heart. I will accept any punishment from the disciplinary elder." Since Yun Zhongtian said so, what else could Duan and I say? He could only spread his hands and say, "Yes, I was ordered by my clan's king to capture this brat. This brat entered the city, and I didn't dare to use force inside the city, so I could only resort to this." Now that things had come to this point, everything was clear. Everything was clear. Now, all they had to do was wait for the enforcement elder to convict them. The enforcement elder sat there quietly with his eyes closed. Clearly, he was communicating with the Yun clan king. More than 1,000 martial artists gathered outside. All of them were silent as they waited for the final verdict. after the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the enforcement elder opened his eyes and looked at Yun Zhongtian first and said, Yun Zhongtian, the clan has decided to relieve you of your elder position. At the same time, you will be sent to Moon-Seeking Island to guard for 10,000 years. Do you accept this? Moon-Seeking Island 10,000 years. Suddenly, there was an uproar outside. Moon-Seeking Island was an extremely terrifying place. Even an expert who was infinitely close to the absolute perfection realm would not be able to withstand it. Was Yun Zhongtian going crazy after being locked inside for 10,000 years? Yun Zhongtian's complexion turned pale. He seemed to have aged a few thousand years in a split second. After a moment of silence, he nodded and said, Zhongtian is willing to accept this punishment. Go. The enforcement elder waved his hand. Yun Zhongtian tidied up his clothes and strode out. Even though he was being punished heavily, he did not lose his bearing. Many martial artists outside were in awe. This Yun Zhongtian was indeed a character. After Yun Zhongtian left, the enforcement elder turned to Duan and I and said, Duan and I, you are a patriarch of the Duan family. But as long as you come to the Cloud King City, we will treat you equally, regardless of your status or abilities. All are equal under the Iron Law. You didn't do it yourself, but you did. Therefore, you are the culprit and you must accept the punishment. Duan Ni's expressions turned cold. He had thought that since he was a patriarch of the Duan family and he was here on the order of the family patriarch, he could be considered a special emissary. After all, Luli didn't die in the end. This was not a big deal. At best, it was just a drunkard kicking Luli. At the very least, if the patriarch of the Yun family was not greedy for money, could Duan and I buy him off? This was the Yun family's problem. How could Duan and I vent his anger on him? Duan and I cupped his fists and said, I am here on orders. I am a special emissary. I am here to discuss with Patriarch Zhongtian on behalf of our family to capture the villain who attacked our family. He is just an Emperor Realm warrior. Patriarch Zhongyue, why do you have to go all the way and not let go? Give me this bastard. Our family will be grateful and we will repay you handsomely in the future. Duan Ni's words seemed to make sense. The Duan family was a big family and so was the Yun family. It was natural for the two families to help each other. It was just to capture an Emperor Realm warrior. If he could gain the friendship of the Duan family, why not? If a small warrior caused a war between the two families, the loss would outweigh the gain. Both Luli and Zishi were getting nervous. Duan and I was a smart guy. He was good at changing the topic. All of a sudden, he brought the issue to the peace and war between the two races. Compared to the relationship between the two races, Luli was really insignificant. Many warriors looked at Patriarch of Law Enforcement, waiting to see what he had to say. Without thinking, Patriarch of Law Enforcement said with a smile, First of all, you cannot represent the Duan family. Second, we do not value the friendship and repayment of the Duan family. Third, you have corrupted a patriarch of our family. This is a heinous crime and cannot be forgiven. Fourth, our family is established by Iron Law. Whether the Iron Law is fair or not is related to the reputation and ethos of our family. This is the foundation of our family. You want to destroy our family. How can we forgive you? Even if the top 10 patriarchs of the Duan family are here, we will punish them severely, let alone a patriarch like you. Good. Someone shouted. Many onlookers of the Yun family were excited and cheered for Patriarch of Law Enforcement. Luli secretly praised Patriarch of Law Enforcement. This was a real big family. This was the confidence and grace of a big family. Coldness rose in Duan Ni's eyes. He snorted and said, What? Do you dare to kill me? Yes. Patriarch of Law Enforcement nodded calmly and said, Not only will I kill you, I will send your body back to the Duan King City. I will also demand an explanation from your family. Otherwise, the relationship between our two families will not be friendship, but war. Impressive. Luli was convinced. This was a real big family, a real wealthy family. They did things in an open and above-board manner. They didn't care about any conspiracy. They would crush their enemies directly. If they were not convinced, then fight. Chapter 3370. Duan Ni's expressions changed. What kind of person was the law enforcement patriarch of the Yun family? Since he had said it in front of everyone, it was definitely the words of a king. This matter could not be changed, so he would definitely die. How could the Yun family make trouble for the Duan family? The Yun family was used to being overbearing. No wonder it was the most powerful family at the eastern side of the southern region. Duan and I made up his mind. Since he was going to die anyway, he had to drag someone down with him. Killing the other warriors was pointless. Why not kill Luli? Everything was caused by Luli. At least, killing Luli could vent his anger. On this thought, Duan and I turned to Luli and dashed toward Luli like a ghost. Unexpectedly, a powerful warrior was faster than him. He stood in front of Luli in a flash. Then he waved his hand and slapped. Boom! Like a nebula expanding, darkness enveloped Duan and I in an instant. At that moment, the momentum was so oppressive that Luli couldn't breathe. Zishi's little face turned pale. Countless warriors outside felt it difficult to breathe. Boom! Duan and I was smashed away like a sack. All his bones were broken. He looked at law enforcement patriarch in shock, reached out his hand and said, "Great, great? You have reached the great perfection." Boom! Duan and I fell to the ground and breathed his last. It was dead silent. Many people stared at law enforcement patriarch in horror. Many other warriors were overjoyed. The Yun family only had 2 warriors at the great perfection. Now there might be one more. The Yun family had become stronger. Take care of his body and send it to the Duan family. Law enforcement patriarch waved his hand. Then he looked at Luli and said, "My friend, there are some scum in our family. You have been wronged. So, we can give you some compensation. You can either have 1 trillion celestial stones or you can go to our dragon seeking ground to study for a year. Make your choice." What? Another commotion broke out. How could law enforcement patriarch give Luli such a generous reward? 1 trillion celestial stones was nothing. The dragon seeking ground was the sacred land of the Yun family. Inside, there were countless stone tablets left behind by the Yun family's ancestors. Those tablets recorded cultivation insights and even secret technique. The enforcement elder had actually allowed an outsider to enter the Yun family's ancestral land. Gosh, it's the dragon-seeking ancestral land? That place is a place that elders can only enter for 1 year every 1,000 years. The enforcement elder is too the ancestral dragon-seeking land. If I can enter it, it would be worth it even if I have to shorten my life by 10,000 years. This outsider's luck is too good. Sigh, why don't I have the same luck? You? Stop dreaming. Do you think you can let the Duan clan's elder plot against you? Do you think you're worthy? Luli bowed without any hesitation and said, "Thank you, my lord. I am grateful. I choose to go to the ancestral land of dragon seeking." Yun Yu. The law enforcement elder shouted. An expert walked out from a nearby corridor. The law enforcement elder said, "I'll leave the rest to you." The law enforcement elder disappeared. Luli was taken to a small manor of the Yun family by Yun Yu. Yun Yu said politely, "Now that the law enforcement elder has allowed you to go to the ancestral land of dragon seeking, you are an honored guest of the Yun family. You can stay here as long as you want. Tell the steward if you need anything." "Thank you, Lord Yun Yu." Luli was touched. The Yun family was being nice to him for no reason, which made him feel strange. But he was grateful. That was how he was. A drop of kindness should be returned with a spring of water. If others were nice to him, he would be nicer to them. Yunyu nodded and said, "Take a rest. I will come back in 3 days and take you to the ancestral land of dragon seeking. Don't worry about this little girl. Let her stay here. No warrior dares to hurt her." Okay. Luli moved in with Zishi. There was a steward and 5 maids. All kinds of necessities were available. As soon as Zishi went in, she exclaimed, "The Yun family is really a family with a history of more than 10,000 years. How admirable!" "Yes," Luli exclaimed. If he had to choose a big family to be loyal to in the immortal region, Luli would join the Yun family without any hesitation. But he didn't want to stay in the immortal region for too long. After he found Little White, he might wander around in the immortal region to see if there was a chance for him to make a breakthrough. Whether he could or not, he would go back to the chaotic star region. In the huge manor in the backyard of the Yun family, the law enforcement elder of the Yun family walked in. There was an old man sitting with his legs crossed. He was more domineering than the law enforcement elder, as solid as a mountain. Next to him stood a boy, the one who talked to Yun Zhongtian just now. This boy had been with the Yun family patriarch. Therefore, this domineering old man must be the Yun family patriarch. The boy bowed and said, "Moon Ancestor." The law enforcement elder nodded. The Yun family patriarch opened his eyes. He looked at the law enforcement elder and asked, "What is going on? Why do you favor that human boy so much?" The Yun family patriarch knew the law enforcement elder very well. The law enforcement elder was old-fashioned and meticulous. He wouldn't be so generous as to give the ancestral lands to a young human warrior to study. The Yun family patriarch wouldn't object to this. He was just curious as to why the law enforcement elder would do this. "This boy is interesting." The law enforcement elder picked up a cup of tea and drank. He thought for a while and said, "On this boy, I feel the presence of Tao. Tao." The Yun family patriarch raised his eyebrows and asked, "Are you sure you didn't feel it wrong? He is at the Emperor realm." "Yes," the law enforcement elder said with certainty, "it is the presence of Tao. You can go over and feel it. You can faintly feel it around him. I don't understand. How can an Emperor realm warrior have the presence of Tao?" The boy next to them asked curiously, "Ancestors, what is Tao?" "Right, it seems that every Emperor realm Saint Emperor needs to understand Tao. Is it this Tao?" "That is a small Tao." The Yun family patriarch touched the boy's head and said, "You are still young. It is meaningless to understand this now. When you are infinitely close to the consummate realm, you will understand." "I will go and have a look." The Yun family patriarch thought about it and then disappeared on the spot. The next second, he appeared next to Luli. But Luli didn't notice. He was resting with Zishi in the yard, thinking about what he just found. The Yun family patriarch stood next to Luli and tried to sense it. Then he came back again. Luli didn't feel anything and there was no fluctuation in the space. "Just as I thought." The Yun family patriarch nodded and said, "There is indeed the presence of Tao. It is weak but it is there. It is strange. An Emperor realm warrior. Not even a warrior infinitely close to the consummate realm can have this presence. You did the right thing. Even if you cannot recruit him, it is good to build a good relationship with him. Maybe in the future you will be rewarded thousands of times more." "That is right." The law enforcement elder nodded. He looked at Luli and said, "In our ancestral ground, there are several steels with the Tao of our ancestors. If it can help him, then he must remember our kindness." Chapter 3371. Dragon-Seeking Ancestral Ground. This was one of the 3 ancestral grounds of the Yun family. It was the most mysterious and most powerful place in the Yun family. Powerful warriors of the Yun family would leave behind some tablets before they passed away. They would leave behind their cultivation experiences, their understanding of Tao, and some other trivial matters. This was the most suitable place for the Yun family to cultivate because there were hundreds of thousands of stone steels here. Those who could leave behind something on the steels were saint kings at the very least. This was a precious treasure of the Yun family, as well as one of the foundations of the Yun family. Today, Luli was lucky enough to enter this place. Yunyu took Luli to a valley. He told Luli to come out in a year and that he would wait here. Yunyu did not say anything else. Aren't they afraid that I will sabotage the place? Luli had an idea. But on second thought, it was unlikely. There must be powerful warriors guarding the place, and there must be powerful divine glyph. It would be impossible to sabotage the place. Luli walked into the valley slowly. He did not use psychic power to check. He looked around and realized that the valley was large. There was a haze in the valley, making it look like a dream or a fantasy. Right across the valley, Luli saw a statue of an old man in sackcloth. His eyes were filled with wisdom. He was holding a book in his hand and gazing into the distance. Yun Yuan, the first forefather of the Yun family. He was at the consummate realm. He was known as Luli walked to the statue and read the life of this powerful warrior. Luli could not help but feel respect. He bowed 3 times and then walked to a winding path on the left. There was a tablet on the left. There are divine glyphs. Luli approached the tablet. He sensed that the tablet was engraved with powerful divine glyphs. It would be difficult to destroy them. He did not think about destroying them. He didn't even ask Blood Fairy to check the divine glyph. The handwriting on the tablet was messy and ugly. It was written in an ancient language. Luli could understand it, but he couldn't understand the meaning. The language was bold and unconstrained, and the words were written without any rhyme or reason. What is the Tao seeking? What is the Tao? Heaven has no Tao, but heaven and earth have Tao. What is the difference between having Tao and not having Tao? What is the difference between the Tao seeking and the Tao forgetting? In the end, you will be nothing but a pile of dirt. The heavens and earth are boundless and boundless. Who can truly control it? When seeking the Tao, do you ask yourself, or do you ask something else? There were only hundreds of words on the stele. It didn't seem to be a record of his cultivation experience. Instead, it was more like the ramblings of a neurotic person. There was no order to his words. Luli read for a while but didn't gain anything. He moved on to the next stele. Wind Dragon Sword Intent. The next stone tablet recorded a strange way of fighting. Luli studied it carefully and realized that it would be difficult to learn it in a short time. He memorized all the words and planned to study them later. After Luli left the stone tablet, he suddenly noticed something. All the words he had memorized had disappeared. He couldn't even remember what kind of fighting methods were written on the stone tablet. How strange! Luli's pupils contracted. He went back to the stone stele. When he saw the 4 words, Sword Intent of Dragon of Wind, his memory came back. He remembered all the words on the stele. What a mystical divine rune! Luli exclaimed to himself. He took out a pen and paper, ready to write it down. All of a sudden, his pen and paper caught on fire and were reduced to ashes. Luli was shocked. He didn't waste any more time. He could only learn on the spot and nothing could be taken out. If he could, then so be it. If he couldn't, then he would gain nothing. Luli didn't want to waste any more time. He only had 1 year. He might as well study instead of thinking of other ideas. There were countless steles here. Maybe one of them could be beneficial to him. Luli had always been confused about the direction of his cultivation. At this stage, it would be difficult to make further progress. Saint Emperors borrowed strength in heaven and earth. Warriors that were close to the perfect realm could mobilize strength in heaven and earth. Warriors at the perfect realm could control strength in heaven and earth. Luli was cultivating his body and soul. His body could only absorb strength in heaven and earth. His soul had nothing to do with it. Therefore, Luli was very close to the perfect realm. He could defeat all the other warriors, but he couldn't make further progress. To be so close to the perfect realm, the most important thing was to have a connection with heaven and earth. He had to communicate with them and be recognized by heaven and earth. If he didn't cultivate laws and fundamental principles, how could he learn heaven and earth? How could he be recognized by heaven and earth? Therefore, he was confused. Part of the reason why he came to the immortal region was to find an answer, to find his own path. There were hundreds of thousands of steels here. Maybe some of them would be helpful to him. Look. Luli moved quickly and looked at the steels one by one. He went through more than a dozen in one go. Most of them were carved with divine skills, combat skills, and killing moves. These things were useful to Luli. Some of the killing moves could increase his abilities by 10 or 20%. But Luli didn't try to learn them. He only had 1 year. He wasn't sure if he could learn them in 1 year. When the time was up, he would have to leave. Once he left the steels, he would forget everything. What was the point of learning half of it? Therefore, Luli made up his mind. He skimmed through the steels. As long as it was divine skills, killing moves, or combat skills, he didn't look at anything. He looked at cultivation experience and comprehension. In just a couple of days, Luli had gone through hundreds of steels. 2 of them were about cultivation experience. He spent half a day at each steel. But it was pointless. Luli had to go through the steels one by one. If he was not fast enough, he wouldn't be able to finish reading the hundreds of thousands of steels in a year. There were many steels and many cultivation experiences, but they were all about fundamental principles. Most of them were about this aspect. There was nothing that Luli needed. Luli didn't know what he needed. He just felt it was useless to him. He had to go on and study the steels one by one. Half a month, 1 month, 3 months. Luli stopped today. He came across a miraculous steel. There were no words on the steel, only some symbols. The symbols formed some strange patterns. Though Luli could not understand them, he felt they were quite mysterious. Interesting. Luli read it carefully for many times. He stared at it for an hour. He seemed to have understood something. Then, he used the trace of Tao to sense it. Gradually, he noticed that the symbols were moving as if there were countless flowers, birds, fishes, and insects swimming around. Gradually, he became confused. He immersed his spirit into the steel. He really is a genius. When Luli was immersed in the steel, a man suddenly showed up behind him. It was Yun Zhongyue, the patriarch of law enforcement of the Yun family. He sighed, stroked his beard and said, "The Xian heaven steel left by ancestor how cannot be learned unless he is talented. It all depends on this punk's luck. Can he learn the mark left by ancestor how?" Chapter 3372. Luli saw a piece of chaos and felt muddle-headed. The scenery around him was blurry. It seemed real and illusory at the same time. A mysterious and abstruse feeling pervaded the surroundings. Luli looked around in a daze, immersing himself in the marvelous feeling. He did not know what the scenery here was for, but he was sure that there must be something powerful here. It might be the Tao of a powerful warrior. Even saint emperors had to learn their own Tao. Luli had been searching for his own Tao for a long time, but he didn't learn anything, not any Tao. Now that he had such a good chance, he would like to try. Maybe, after he learned the Tao, his abilities could be improved. Chaos, solidification, thickness, toughness. Luli sensed the qi and energy in the scenery around him, but he did not know what they were for. He could only look at them quietly, immerse himself in them, and try to sense them slowly. Time moved on. Luli felt it was slow, but it was fast. He knew that this kind of learning would go by quickly. Maybe, he felt it was only an instant, but a year had passed. If he could not learn here, then he would have missed the chance to enter the ancestral land of dragon seekers. But at this moment, Luli didn't want to change. This world was mysterious. If he could sense something here, then this trip would be worthwhile. Therefore, he didn't think too much. He just stayed here and tried to sense everything in this world with his soul. In a blur, Luli sensed something, but he could not tell what it was. Not even he knew what it was. 4 months, 5 months, half a year. Time flew by so fast that Luli didn't feel anything. He didn't know what he was seeing, either. He didn't know if this could be of any use to him. He was just like a man walking in the dark, running toward the hazy light in the distance. 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. A year was about to pass by. Luli still had no idea what he was looking for, what he was chasing, or what he was exploring. He was confused at the moment. In this chaos, he felt he was a drop in the ocean, a tiny speck. If this chaos was the Tao of heaven, then he was just a speck of dust in the chaos. For some reason, Luli was in awe of the Tao of heaven. He was even afraid and panicked. But how could he learn the Tao of heaven when he was in awe of it? If he was in awe of it and afraid of it, how could he get close to it and become one with it? That was a contradiction. Luli was conflicted as well. He didn't even dare to go on. He was afraid that the more he learned, the more horrifying the Tao of heaven would be, and the smaller he would be and the further he would be from it. It was like the chaos in front of them. Luli felt there might be something miraculous in that chaos. Maybe, when he separated the chaos, he would find a piece of treasure. That being said, that piece of treasure could be so powerful that Luli could not stand it. He would be crushed to death by the might of the treasure. This was how Luli felt at the moment. He really wanted to push open the door in front of him, but he was afraid that after he pushed it open, there would be a terrifying world inside. Li Dao of Li was that time. This was Luli's mentality. Maybe it was because he was too weak. He was like a child who saw a super sword in front of him. He was afraid that he couldn't lift it up. Not only could it not help him kill the enemy, but it might also cut himself. Wait, Luli suddenly understood. Why did he have this feeling? He was not comprehending the heavenly Tao, but the Tao contained in the world in front of him. Why did he suddenly feel like he could not bear its weight? This is the Tao of heaven's will. It is affecting me on purpose. Luli understood. The Tao here was misleading him on purpose. It was trying to make him feel awe, fear, and resistance. He could not learn the Tao here. Luli was intrigued. Why was the Tao here releasing this feeling? Did it mean that he was very close to the truth? Did it mean that he was about to grasp the core of the Tao? Did it mean that he would be able to learn the Tao here soon? Chaos, thick, solid, vast, boundless, many words flashed across Luli's mind. He had a vague understanding of the Tao here. He made up his mind. He mobilized the trace of Tao and tried to probe into the chaos. I don't care what is in there. I don't care if it will tear me to pieces. I must have a look. Luli's mind was filled with this crazy idea. He tried his best to probe into the chaos, to see the core of the chaos, to find the truth. He could not stand it even if his soul would be destroyed. Buzzing, right at that moment, the steel in front of Luli suddenly lit up. It was getting brighter and brighter. A surge of chi and energy spread out. The entire valley was shaking. Whoosh! There were a few elders guarding this place, and all of them were alarmed, and they all flew over. They saw Patriarch of Law Enforcement here. They bowed to him and then looked at the steel. One of the patriarchs said, "Patriarch of Law Enforcement, the Xian Tian steel is moving. Has this kid learned the Tao of Ancestor How? How is that possible?" Yes. Another patriarch said, This is the great Heaven Tao, one of the most powerful Taos in the history of our race. How can a human kid learn it? The third patriarch said, What's more, it has been less than a year. Even our family patriarch spent 15 years to learn the 6-me Tao. Patriarch of Law Enforcement didn't say anything. He stared at the characters on the steel. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he said, I think he has only scratched the surface. At his current realm, he cannot truly understand the great Heaven Tao. Phew, the other patriarchs breathed in relief upon hearing Patriarch of Law Enforcement's words. If Luli really could learn the Tao in the Xiantian steel in a year, then all the warriors of the Yun family would have to bang their heads against the wall. Just scratching the surface was nothing. After all, there was still a long way to go before one could truly understand the great Heaven Tao. There were warriors in the history of the Yun family that had scratched the surface of the great Heaven Tao. Unfortunately, none of them managed to learn the real great Heaven Tao. The patriarchs were uncomfortable at first. They felt like their girls were being slept with by a strange man. Now that they realized it was just a touch, they felt better. In 1 year, a warrior of the Emperor realm has scratched the surface of the great Heaven Tao. Patriarch of Law Enforcement exclaimed. He murmured in a voice that only he could hear, Is it because he has the qi and energy of Tao? There is nothing special about this kid's body. He is just a warrior that cultivates his body and soul. How come he has the qi and energy of Tao? Strange, strange. Chapter 3373. The Xian Heaven Steel had been glowing for more than a month, but Luli had not woken up. When the time was up, the patriarchs turned to Law Enforcement Patriarch. Wake him up. Law Enforcement Patriarch waved his hand and flew out. He had been observing Luli for a year and he didn't see anything wrong. He had been trying to find where Luli's qi and energy was. However, after such a long time, Law Enforcement Patriarch couldn't find where Luli's qi and energy was coming from. He just had a vague feeling that the qi and energy of Tao seemed to be coming from Luli's abdomen. But apart from a pellet, there was nothing there. Luli was woken up by force. The haze in front of him was gone. Gradually, the steel came into his sight. The runes on the steel stopped moving and it stopped glowing. The steel had returned to its original appearance. The other patriarchs left as well. There was only one patriarch left. He looked at Luli and said, Lu, time is up. It is time for you to go out. Phew, phew, Luli exhaled. He felt sorry that he didn't fully understand the Tao in the steel. Law Enforcement Patriarch was right. Luli had only scratched the surface. If Luli had another 10 years, he believed that he could understand it completely. The Yun family was governed by an iron law. Law Enforcement Patriarch would keep his word. It was unprecedented that Law Enforcement Patriarch gave Luli 1 year. Even if Luli were to beg on his knees, Law Enforcement Patriarch would not give him more time to study. Of course, there was another way, which was for Luli to join the Yun family. Even if the Yun family did not give Luli time to come in, as long as Luli could show his value, he would have a chance to come in. Could Luli join the Yun family? Of course not. He had to go to the Mystic Armor City to find Lu Xiaobai. Also, he didn't want to stay in the Immortal region for long. He wanted to go back to the Chaotic Star region after he finished his business. He bowed to thank the Patriarch and then walked out of the Dragon Seeking Ground. Yunyu was waiting for him outside. Luli followed Yunyu back to the yard. Zishi followed him at once. Luli waved his hand and asked Zishi to sit down. Then he sat with his legs crossed and began to cultivate. He had comprehended a few things from the Xiantian divine steel. Many of them were vague, so he needed to stabilize them and see if he could comprehend them for a while. Luli had been studying for half a month, but he did not gain much. Not being in that chaotic world seemed to be more difficult. For half a month, Luli didn't learn anything. The things in his mind were still like the moon in the water, flowers in the mirror. He couldn't see them clearly, let alone grasp them. Luli sighed helplessly. He didn't insist on it anymore. He recorded what he had learned and planned to find a chance to study it in the future. Since he couldn't comprehend it, there was no need for him to stay in Cloud King City. Luli thought about it and asked the steward to invite Yunyu over. Then, he revealed that he was going to leave and he wanted to thank Patriarch of Law Enforcement in person. Yunyu told Luli to wait while he went to ask Patriarch of Law Enforcement. 2 hours later, Yunyu came and Patriarch of Law Enforcement agreed to meet Luli. Once again, Luli was touched. Patriarch of Law Enforcement was likely to be a warrior at the consummate realm. How could a warrior of this level agree to meet a warrior of the Emperor realm? Somehow, Luli was excited. Luli followed Yunyu to a manor. Yunyu showed Luli to the backyard, but he didn't dare to go in. He bowed and said, "Lu, go in by yourself. We don't have the right to go in here." Luli nodded and strode in. Patriarch of Law Enforcement was sitting under a tree, drinking tea. Luli walked over and bowed to Patriarch of Law Enforcement. Yun Zhongyu nodded and said, "Rise and sit." There was a stump across the table from Yun Zhongyue, but Yun Zhongyue was hesitant to sit down. He said with respect, "Lord, you are a powerful warrior. How can I sit in front of you?" "I told you to sit, so sit," Yun Zhongyue said with a straight face. Luli had to sit down. Patriarch of Law Enforcement pointed to the tea and said, "Pour yourself some tea." Luli was nervous. This was a warrior at the consummate realm. The Grim Reaper was so powerful, but there wasn't one at the consummate realm. Yun Zhongyue was a man at the peak of the world. How could he sit with Luli and drink tea with him? Powerful warriors were proud. They wouldn't lower their pride easily. Take Luli for example. He could be friendly, but he wouldn't lose his identity. Would the Grim Reaper, a warrior at the sixth tribulation, lower his pride and sit with him as an equal? Therefore, Yun Zhongyue was nervous. Fortunately, he had always been brave. He poured himself a cup of tea, took a sip and said, "I am here for 2 reasons. First, I want to thank you for your fairness and justice. I also want to thank you for allowing me to go to the ancestral land of dragons. Second, I am here to say goodbye. I need to go to the eastern region." "Okay." Yun Zhongyue nodded and said, "Did you find anything at the ancestral land of dragons?" "Yes." Luli didn't hide anything. He nodded and said, "I learned something from a stele, but I didn't understand everything. I just scratched the surface. I can tell that it is a very powerful Tao. Even though I only scratched the surface, I am satisfied. Thank you, Lord." And Luli didn't hide anything. After a moment of silence, Patriarch of Law Enforcement asked, "If I let you stay in there, will you?" Luli was taken aback. Then he smiled bitterly to himself. Yun Zhongyue's words were vague, but his meaning was clear. He was extending an olive branch on behalf of the Yun family, trying to recruit Luli. There was no such thing as gratuitous hatred or gratuitous love in this world. Especially since the Yun family was established by law, they naturally could not act recklessly. Allowing an outsider to enter the dragon-seeking ancestral land consecutively? How could the martial artists of the clan be convinced by you? Once the clan's laws were broken, the Yun family's foundation would be damaged. Naturally, Yun Zhongyue wouldn't do such a thing. Therefore, if Luli wanted to continue cultivating there, he had to join the Yun family. Don't say that Moon in the Cloud wanted Luli's help, or that he needed Luli to do something for him. What did he need Luli to do? The person sitting across from him was likely to be at the consummate level. What did he not have? If Luli could do it, how could he not do it? Luli didn't know why Moon and Yun Zhongyue valued him so much, but he still chose to refuse. He had joined the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper was his home. His family and friends were there too. He could not betray the Grim Reaper. He only thought about it for a while before he said, "Thank you, Lord, for your kindness. I am grateful. It is a pity that I have to go to the eastern region. If there is a chance in the future, I will come back to repay your kindness." Li's words were tactful, but his meaning was clear. He could not join the Yun family now. As for the future, it would be up to fate. Moon in Yun Zhongyue didn't show much emotion. He just nodded and said, "Go. The eastern region is dangerous. Be careful. If you have nowhere else to go, I have a place for you here at any time." You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.